Hello, geese. What's going on? How are we all? Bloody Sunday already. What happened? What happened? Plumjack's actually got notification. Wow. I don't know what happened there. YouTube screwed up, mate. Even I don't get notifications from my own channel. Literally nothing. Nothing. Give it an hour, and then I'll get notified. Hello, geese. How you doing, geese? Dizzy for Jesus, geese. Hope you're well, Dizzy. Hope you're not dizzy. How you doing, Alan? Good afternoon. In my head, then, good morning. Like, no. How you doing, Jake? Hope you're well, mate. Hope you're well on this lovely, not so sunny Sunday. Oh, it's just come through. Oh, it took 1 minute. Wow. I literally just got notified that I'm live. Wow, it took 1 minute. 1 minute, 14 seconds. Oh, that's not too bad, is it? Howdy doody there, wizards. That's a good one, geese. What's up, Doc? I just popped on for a whiz. Hi, peeps. How you doing, Olga? Hope you're good on this glorious Sunday afternoon. For this, I think my microphone stopped then as I was talking, wasn't it? Is that me or does my microphone keep coming off? The Henry Nowak situation. And also whether Islam should be banned from the West. So, there's three things there that we can discuss. Like we do. It's all good. Has the whiz been banned? Bloody hope not. Why have I been banned, geese? Hope not. Whiz, I'm going to bang a message on the community page of your channel. Have a look, and if you're on board, spread far and wide. If not, delete, no props. Yep, no worries, mate, no worries. Yeah, it is open. The community is open, and anyone can post. That's better, geese. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, my microphone decided to just stop. So those adapters, I've got a few. Got another one there. Technology, eh? No, it's definitely this end, mate. I saw it come out flashed red on the microphone when it cuts off, so. Hello, humans! Still waiting on the notification. I got mine after 1 minute, 14 seconds, geese. So that's something, isn't it? I'm honoured. But yeah, we shall see. We shall see. I keep forgetting about the community. Oh yes, I see it. A protest for the upcoming World Cup. Don't protest against the World Cup, geese. Please bear with me. Each Western nation's fans attending should not fly the flag of their nation and protest for the lack of protection and service of the people. I'll propose an alternative at some stage, which I'm working on behind the scenes, but essentially the main thing is not to flag that said nation's flag. Not to fly that said that, I assume that's supposed to say. Would you jump on by spreading the fundamental reason behind this protest? I really hope you understand where I am coming from when I do this. But if not, so be it. If not, so be it. So yeah, it'd be funny, wouldn't it? Like, you got the World Cup, and then no one's flying the England flag. So yeah, we're not allowed to, mate. It's a sign of hate, isn't it? Hate and division. The England flag. Yeah, it's up. Everybody see that in the community thing, in the community posts. Yeah, MI5's playing with my mic. What are they doing? Or MI6. There might even be an MI7. What's a bad word, geese? Come on, geese. What's a bad word, geese? The John has arrived. Good afternoon, all. I hope you're all having a better day than Nicholas Surgeon. I know. Yeah. I'm not apologising for my ex-husband's actions. Ain't no beats and tapes on the yo-yo. No notification. No, weird, isn't it? She's being dragged through it because of her ex, isn't she, for that £400,000 embezzlement. I got a notification half an hour ago. Blimey. Oh, is that the pre-live one? They said, oh, the Wiz is going live in half an hour. I get my notifications from God. I make sure God's telling people about the Wiz geese. It's a whiz bang bang. You must be the chosen one. I'm not one for boasting. Buongiorno alla Gullage 19. Afternoon. Profile pic. Is that a woman? Female? That's a character of something that I don't know because I'm too old. It's okay, Jake. Has Wiz been turned off? What? What do you mean it's Wiz been turned off? Can you not hear me? Or can you hear me? Oh, no. It come through on there? Yeah, that's all right. You're trying to get me going. You're getting me going, Wheeze. Geese. Wheeze. Wheeze, geese. Woo. England won't win. Can't even play against Japan. The fact we're allowed for sporting events, that's why I'm saying let's flip it and not do so. Yeah, shut them up, wouldn't it? I believe people should refuse to fly the Union flag at the World Cup as show of protest. Yep. If we weren't allowed to fly it when we want, then why should we fly it when they say it's okay to fly it? Exactly that. Reverse psychology, geese. I mean, the flag, it's very divisive. It's hate speech, and people walk down the road and they're shaking. They're full of fear. Like, it's a St. George's flag. I can't function. Yeah, he said no comment. Oh, I'm not apologising for what my ex-husband done, blah, blah, blah. We cranky probably didn't know. You see, Elizabeth, the marriage was just for public image. Oh, who knows? Oh, it's Wednesday. Oh, yeah, I can see it now. Sounds good. Okay, cool. I can hear you. That's good. Otherwise, people be calling in and we'll have issues again, like Jake, and it was me. I don't know how my headphones were giving the feedback or whatever. How weird's that? Probably watch on catch up, geese. She's supposed to be Lily, but all reports of her are suppressed. She does look strange. John, what's this about our flag? We're not allowed to fly it anymore in Britain. Well, in theory. But yeah, it's on the community post. We can hear you. He's cooking, geese. Yeah, I'm my dinner after this. I do, geese. I do. Have my dinner after this. But obviously, the call in about whether it's a Manchester airport attack, Henry Nowak, or whether should Islam be banned. We're open to any of the conversations. But I've got to hear the basics of the Manchester situation with Mohammed Fahir Amaz and Mohammed Ahmad. Strange names. Mohammed and Mohammad. Okay. Were found guilty of assaulting police officers and a member of the public, but the sentencing, as we know, is pending. The incident occurred on 23rd of July 2024. See, this is what I don't get, right? That's 2024. It's now 2026. I've not known about it in all that time. Same as the Henry Nowak thing. That was back in December. Was it not? The 3rd of December last year was the Henry Nowak. And why are we only hearing about it now? It's weird. I didn't hear about it back then either when it happened. It's really strange. But basically, the incident occurred on 23rd of July 2024 at Manchester Airport when the two brothers became involved in a violent altercation with police officers and a passenger following a dispute in the terminal car park area. Mohammed Fahir Amaz was previously convicted of assaulting two female officers, PC Lydia Ward and PC Ellie Cook, and a member of the public. And rightly so, considering like her nose was bleeding. They'll be like, oh no, there's no evidence of that. Look, her nose is just like peeing out with blood. Oh, no one touched that. That's what you expect, isn't it? Abdul Karim Ismail during the same incident. That's the member of public. Mohammed Ahmad was not convicted in the initial trial, but faced a retrial for assaulting PC Zachary Marsden, where you can basically see him and his brother attack, but obviously not. During the retrial, jurors were unable to reach a verdict on the charge against PC Marsden, and he's the gentleman that tased the bloke in the blue, that Mohammed, and then kicked him in the head to neutralise the threat, which I thought was just a superb, divine idea, and that was it. That was him out. But it was leading to a discharge of the jury after 20 hours of deliberation. The case has been adjourned until the 29th of May 2026, which has since passed, and they've dropped it. So the Crown Prosecution Service has obviously decided not to pursue a third trial. So, and both brothers deny the charges relating to PC Marsden, even though it's on camera, claiming they acted in self-defence or in defence of each other. I don't think so, do you? I don't think so. The convictions already secured against Amaz and Ahmad were based on violent sustained assaults captured on CCTV and body-worn camera footage, showing repeated punches and kicks to the officers and the public. The jury rejected the brothers' claims of self-defence, described the attacks as deliberate and unprovoked, which I think is correct. Definitely deliberate. Sentencing for these convictions is pending, and both men are expected to face lengthy jail terms once the court determines the appropriate punishment. While both brothers have been found guilty of multiple assaults during the Manchester Airport incident, the final sentence has not yet been handed down, and unresolved charges against PC Marsden remain subject to potential further trial, which obviously they're not going to because obviously they decided not to, and PC Marsden like literally gets attacked from behind by the lad in blue in the CCTV, if you remember. So, yeah, that's it. Exactly that. And the flag isn't racist, the person makes it racist. Yeah, just by saying it's racist, it's now racist. Believe it or not. Let me sit back and get a little bit cozy. Get a little bit cozy. Oh, hello, Helen. Buongiorno. I think of that every time I try to watch a movie, Jake. What? No. Yeah. I don't know what was going on. It seems a bit strange that they can't come to a conclusion when it's actually on camera. Very strange. How you doing, Mark? Hope you're well on this glorious Sunday. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand what planet they're on. Poor Henry, my heart is broken for him and his family, but no taking the knee, not even a peep from our leaderless leaders. Shame on them. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I did see the gentleman on GB News. He actually ended up crying, didn't he? Talking about it. It's just disgusting. Yeah, they'll probably keep it all secret, won't they? So, right, oh, we got Slim in the house, ladies and gents. We've got the one and only Slim. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Good afternoon.
Living the dream. I was surprised. I'm looking, but I can see a cup, but there's no food, Slim. You're not cooking, you're not going to eat.
Today we are suffering milky bar buttons stolen from the little boy.
But that's what I eat, mate. Having no teeth, I can put them in my mouth and suck on them.
Stole candy from a baby. It wasn't as easy as they make it
out. Yeah. Classic. Oh, but literally about Manchester Airport, that Henry Nowak or Islam should be banned from the West. I mean, take your pick, mate. Which one's bugging you the most at the moment, or what one do you want to talk about?
Well, the Nowak thing is something I'm finding quite interesting. I've been following it. It's noticeable that they're no mentioned the ethnicity or type of person that the police themselves were. That's been kept quiet. I was also surprised that it later came out that the guy had two knives. In fact, he didn't have one knife, he had two knives in his possession. That was kept quiet at the start also. The whole thing's been a bit unpleasant, not just for the families involved and for the crime, but it's actually cast a lot of light on the Sikh communities, I know, and I had previously thought they were kind of less inclined to this sort of behaviour.
I'm a bit surprised because I didn't actually think Sikhs were allowed to carry knives in this country anyway, regardless. I didn't think they're like the Muslims trying to force all their stuff on us. But yeah, the Shasta knife and the Kirpan knife, I think he had, and it's for ceremony or whatever. But I mean, why would you need that walking down the road?
Well, they obviously need it so that they can attack people. Apparently, now I have witnessed a wedding in which there was sword fighting in the streets, but it was ceremonial sword fighting, right? And I can understand it at a special occasion. I mean, the king gets to wear a sword wandering about at special occasions, right? But I was very surprised that they're allowed to carry it because of their religion, just on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
If they can carry a knife or a weapon, it seems that they're given some sort of special treatment rather than equality. And the special treatment seems to be extending to a lot of other groups other than just simple white folks.
I think you're forgetting something here, Mr. Slimothy. What are Scotsmen allowed to carry?
Well, apparently, but it must be blunted and shortened. A dirk, the dirk that was traditionally carried, is illegal unless you are wearing wedding attire. And the dirk you're carrying now must be less than 3 inches long, and it must be, and I quote, blunted, meaning it can show no sharp point or edge.
Now, you'd think, wouldn't you, that that should apply to all knives?
Well, you would think that for special occasions such as ceremonies, I mean, they get to carry a mace, for instance. A mace is a what, fancy pants club, let's face it, it's a club. Right. But for ceremonial uses, they get to carry a mace about, they get to carry band sticks, they get to carry other ceremonial clubs, if you like.
Yeah.
But see, to say that one group can carry basically swords about the streets legally and another group can't, I think that's out of order. And it does show that there are clear and defined differences between the ethnic, religious, and social groups. So these things extend far further than just the carrying of knives.
Well, I think that that's a really interesting point, and actually we can trace it back directly to 1968, I think it was, with the Race Relations Act, which is what inspired Enoch Powell's famous speech. And part of the reason that he objected to the Race Relations Act was because it allowed the Sikh community to wear turbans, and I think it also included carrying the knives as well. Even if it doesn't include it in that specific one, the fact that it's later included, you know, we can bundle it in within that. So this was exactly what Powell was objecting to in the late 60s, and we can see now precisely what he predicted has come unsurprisingly true. And it was absolutely appalling what happened against that young lad. I mean, not only is he stabbed to death on the streets, which is something that shouldn't be happening at all anyway, he's stabbed by a foreigner, he's stabbed repeatedly in the legs and in the back, which is obviously the sign of a coward. And then the police handcuff him whilst he's bleeding to death. And it's just an absolute travesty of justice. It really goes to show that what this country has actually become. You have to excuse me, sir, I'm very sleepy, so if I sound like I'm really high, I'm not. I'm actually really tired.
That's fine.
But it's just,
yeah, I would agree. The whole situation's shocking. Not only the attack, but the way the police behaved when they showed up. And it does show. Now, it could be that these people were in a part of his social group, if you like, ethnically or religiously. But it does show that there is a kind of clear swing towards the ethnics, the diversity, shall we say, when it comes to the belief or the support. Because they chained a man that was bleeding to death.
Yes.
While supporting a guy that done the crime. And this isn't a first event. There have been other attacks where this has happened. There was a lady stabbed in the neck about 8 times.
Yeah.
And the police arrested her for the same reason.
Yeah.
And the guy who actually attacked her was allowed to walk away from the incident while the police was arguing with her.
I completely agree with you. And I saw a video yesterday. I can't think who it was now. It was in Manchester, and there were 2 Muslim guys who were clearly here on holiday from Saudi Arabia or somewhere, because they were wearing those dresses that they like to wear. Both of them were carrying swords that were bigger than these ones that the Sikhs had, and they got arrested and the swords got taken off them. It was obviously looked as if they were going to be using them against people on the streets of Manchester. So there's one thing. Why are people being allowed to think that they can get away with it? But I do think that the second point that Slim has raised is a really interesting one, in that there's been an inversion of priorities, in that it used to be the focus was on the people who were born in this country, who were bred in this country. Because of accusations of apparent racism, that has then swapped, and it's now gone the opposite way, in which you can find that somebody who's bleeding to death can be handcuffed because of racism. It's absolutely absurd, and it just goes to show how every single thing that we think as being normal is being turned around and twisted and used against us, really to try and destabilise everything that we believe in. Because that's what I think.
Well, I believe that to be true. They seem to have heavily weighted the system against the WASPs, like myself, you know, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
Yeah.
We now seem to be an underclass in this society we live in. If you need a house, somebody with a pasty skin would never get one before a coloured fella. I don't know, I'm not politically correct, so I don't know the correct terminology for these people. I've tried to avoid the woke terminology on these things, because if you give in to the woke people, you're allowed to say nothing, because every other word that comes out your mouth has to be deconstructed. And I don't buy into this Marxist deconstructionism.
No, it's bullshit.
Piffle.
Well, it is, because it tears everything down and it doesn't replace it with anything.
That's right.
I do think
it's no deconstruction, it's destruction. I've said to somebody I know.
Destruction, yeah. I think it is important, though, for people like Robert, who is from America, to understand, though, that the problem isn't nationwide. So the problems with all things like the DEI and giving black or brown priorities, that's something that will be happening in London primarily. It's not something that would happen where I live, because there aren't any black or brown people here to assign them to, and even if there were, they wouldn't get preferential treatment anyway. So I do think that there's a huge difference between different communities across the country.
I would extend that to most of the big cities.
Yeah,
it is a big city problem.
Yeah, I think so.
And unfortunately now we're in a situation where the big cities have become strongholds, as it were, of the ethnic minorities.
Yeah,
they're forming large communities in the big cities.
There's no need for them in the rural areas, because there isn't any work for them. That's why they congregate primarily in the cities, because that is where the work is, that is where the opportunities for them are.
I think their opportunities extend further than work in the big cities. By the nature of cities themselves, there's opportunities for parasites, social parasites, that basically feed off each other.
Yeah.
And these things are more prevalent in the big cities, because in the towns and in the shires, you can more easily avoid them and spot them. But in the big cities, the bad people that actually prey on the weak and the poor around them, these people thrive in big cities, in the anonymity of a big city.
Yeah.
So maybe the big cities are the problem.
I think
it's an unnatural way to live.
Well, if you think about it, we didn't have cities until the Industrial Revolution. Everyone just lived within the local community, in the shires, in the sort of feudal system style that we had, where people worked for their local landlord. But with the Industrial Revolution, we had then factories that were built up, and the infrastructure associated with all the different industrial technologies that we had. And so that made people move in towards cities, and that, of course, once you had so many people in close proximity, then you have, as you rightly said, predators, and that's always going to happen. And that is something that very much lends itself to the city life, because, as you rightly said, you can be anonymous. Whereas if you're in a small country town, everybody knows who you are, so you're not going to be able to get away with the things that you would in the city.
Yeah. Although big cities actually have existed for a very long time. It's even before the industrial. I would just like to correct you on that. Even the Akkadian Empire, Sargon had a big city to live in, where he had his harlots dealing with problems for him. And in places like South America, they had big cities before we had civilization. Big cities that are now long gone, it must be said. So I'm sure that even in the big cities, and it is recorded here, that
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. What
decadence occurs in big cities.
Yeah, maybe I should have said it's more the case that it wasn't that people created the cities. It was more that there was a large population shift towards the cities. That's what I was getting at, really. That more people suddenly moved from the countryside to the cities as a result of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. Yeah, they moved away from an agrarian society.
Yeah.
That happened also in Scotland. We spoke before about the education, the supposedly free education, and that was largely responsible for the people moving into the cities, because then they could get an education.
Yeah.
Because the educational establishments were moved inside the big cities, the universities and such like. And I think a lot of these modern times, it is true to say a lot of it grew from the Industrial Revolution period forward. But now it's spreading out because of the likes of rail networks and road networks and such like.
Yeah.
I think one of our biggest problems that we've got at the moment with these things is whingers. We give into whingers.
Yeah.
My grandmother, God rest her, would always say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Right. What
And
does
that is true.
What does
We've let a feminized society browbeat, finger wag, and whinges into giving so many people rights, giving them privileges, giving into them. Now we've given into them so far that the ordinary person in the street isn't equal. He's belittled by any blue-haired lefty that wants to say, "How dare you? How dare you?" And suddenly saying "how dare you" and claiming to be offended is the worst thing that could possibly happen to somebody. But they can now just say it willy-nilly. Every other word that comes out your mouth is shocking to somebody in this day and age. And that phrase, you can't use that phrase. You can't say these words. I am offended. You are an racist. That is a racism. I heard somebody say that is a racism. That's not even grammatically correct.
Racism.
That's racism.
Racism. Wow. I've never heard that one before.
Well, there you go. That's how far it's gone. They can now say, and that was in a university. That was one of the university debates I listened to.
Yeah.
You know, the Oxford Union.
The thing with the universities is that it's easy to make it seem like they are woke ideology factories, because if that's what you see them presented as, then that's what you might think that they're all like. But the woke stuff is really limited to certain departments. And for example, I would find it in my areas because I study culture and history and literature, so I would expect to see things like African studies departments and other such bullshit. But they wouldn't necessarily have it in zoology or somewhere like that. But that doesn't mean that the campus as a whole might not promote certain things. So I think it's, as I said about Islam as well, I think it's just important to keep things in context and not necessarily focus on this, the clickbait stuff that we see. Because I've never, in what is it now, 3 or 4 years I've been at this university, haven't had anything woke at all. Having said that, I've only actually been on the campus about 3 times in those years, as I never have to go in.
Well, maybe if you went in, you would see more of it.
Yeah.
My field was engineering. I studied engineering.
Oh, you'd see loads in yours then. There'd be loads of foreigners on yours course.
Well, surprisingly, there was very few. There was very few people, other than peely-wally white people, where I studied.
Apart from yourself, of course.
And including the place I worked, where, to be honest, it was 99% or more white fellas.
Mm.
But that's got more to do with the demographics than any other reason, because in Scotland, until very, very recently, we were an over 98% white society.
Yes, your football teams, white. Your shopkeepers, white. Your racists, white. We all remember that speech. One thing I was going to ask actually is, Glasgow has a bit of a reputation, or did have, for street violence, particularly knife crime. Has that changed with the demographic that's recently come in?
I would say that the street crime in the big cities in Glasgow, bear in mind that there was less big cities in Scotland than they had in England. There was only really 3 big cities in the whole of Scotland. So the Central Belt is a collective area. It spans from Glasgow to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Was the kind of major population. So it was compressed to that. The population itself was compressed within the Central Belt.
Yeah.
Across Scotland. And the rest of Scotland was relatively unpopulated by comparison. So the population density in these small areas actually creates these issues, just like London.
Yeah.
And the knife crime is common because there are no guns. We would be shooting each other if we had guns. So the knife crime is a replacement for artillery.
What causes such problems then? What makes people want to go around and do that, do you think?
A lot of it falls into a very few categories. Now, this is my opinion through what I've witnessed. Being stuck next to people too closely tied to other people in a high population density, i.e. neighbours up and down stairs, next door, 2 doors away, falling out, and then escalations from that.
Yeah.
Crime out with that. This is the second category. Crime out with that you can report to a police officer, i.e. drugs, black market selling. A lot of the knife crime that I've witnessed over the years, it's been common knowledge that it's drug dealers and such like, or drug deals, that have caused it.
Yeah.
Now, the drugs themselves might be the problem. People say the drugs themselves are the problem. I would suspect that the drugs themselves aren't the problem. The inability of people to actually phone up and say, he robbed me, is the problem. Because if you could phone the police and say, hey, I bought some drugs, I don't know, drugs after some guy and he stung me. He took my money, pulled out a knife and didn't even give me my money or my drugs. The policeman would say, oh dear, that's shocking, sir. Let us drive round there and we shall gather the information. We shall put him in front of the beak.
Yeah.
The beak shall tear a strip off him and you shall get your money and or drugs back. Right?
Slim, you just got a gifted membership from Mad Monkey Seeds, as did
That's very nice.
Just so you know, Geese. Just so you know. Thank you very much, Mad Monkey Seeds. Really appreciate the support. And look at the smile you put on Slim's face. And you made me interrupt Slim as well. Hey, all that time you claimed to be a black woman. John was in the chat going, I thought he was a black woman.
He is.
I am this week. We can self-identify in Scotland was.
Okay, fair dues.
It is really interesting hearing about other places, though, because we tend to think that our area is symbolic of the whole nation, and obviously it's not. And I can say, for example, that in my particular town where I live now, which isn't my hometown, but it's very close to it, but I saw a few days ago somebody wearing a headscarf in the supermarket. It's the first time I've ever seen anyone wear one of those in my entire life in this area. Now, I'm not saying that means that there's been an invasion or anything like that. What I'm saying is that you notice things more in an area like this because it's unusual. So you might see a black or brown face now and again, but it certainly isn't common. You never would hear people speaking a different language around here. I mean, you might think they're speaking a different language because they use a lot of dialect, but you wouldn't find that many foreign people around here. What you do find, though, instead, is you find a lot of people who have moved here from London and are very much do-gooder lefties and think that the whole world is all about love and peace. And those people are just as much of a problem as the violent people that we often talk about.
I would argue that they people long term are more of a problem, but that's a different issue. Because they people are the very ones who have got us to the situation we're now in, where people can't speak, are frightened to say who they vote for. such like, in long term, those do-gooders, just like social engineers, they always get it wrong. Now, I would say social engineering is one of the things that the educated like to think is a great thing. And I'm going to say that the natural order is destroyed by social engineering. And that's symbolised by the fact that if you take any external life form and put it in, for instance, a pond or an ecology, you think one thing's going to happen. But time always, there's a fish called the pacu that they moved in to certain ponds. Now, these pacu, they look like piranha, but they eat nuts and berries. They put them in so that the indigenous peoples of a certain area in South America, the pacu comes from South America, they took it and they put it into certain places in Africa, only to find out that the pacu themselves killed everything else. They didn't eat just nuts and berries, they ate the eggs of fish, they ate small crustaceans, they actually dug up roots. And what they done was destroy the entire ecology. And when the pacu themselves had eaten everything else and basically made it a monoculture where only the pacu existed, the pacu then started to starve because there wasn't a food supply for them. Now, this same situation has been done over and over and over, where they introduce one species and discover that that species then is their only problem later on. They've done it in America with certain fish species, snakes that get released into the wild, where, I mean, it's like the boas. They've now got bigger boas in America than they have in South America.
Yeah,
they've got bigger snakes because they eat everything. Every other, just like we're suffering the problem where we expect it to be a certain way, we expect certain behaviours only to find out we're dealing with big snakes.
You're exactly right there. I couldn't have put it any better myself. And round here we had a problem with American crayfish that were invasive and were killing our much smaller crayfish. And I think that the way that you described the fish and the ecology there, I think is almost kind of like a parable in many ways. It's certainly a very good allegory or metaphor for the society that we're living in. The one area where I think we could look a bit more closely is that it's very clear in the animal kingdom that there are different species and the different species cause those problems. In human beings, are we saying that there are different species, or is it something different?
Well, they might know about actually different species, but there's certain genotypes, isn't there? I mean, we've got us, the Caucasians, they've got the Negroids and the Asians and the Chinese. I don't know how they identify the Chinese peoples in these terms. It used to be Oriental, but Oriental's now non-PC.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think maybe Asiatic could be one, but I'm not well versed in the Chinese terms.
Well, so we've got different types, whether it's the tribes as mentioned in the Bible or whatever, I'm not sure. But when it comes right down to it, the peoples are different.
Mm.
The Western people tend to respect civilization and laws more than they do in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is neither democratic nor a republic. Right?
Well, to give an example of what you're saying there about this cultural mishmash, I watched a video yesterday of Lily Gaddis, and it made me laugh because it was about the behaviour of black people at graduation ceremonies. And of course, they're doing all this ridiculous dancing and just trashing the place and all this kind of thing. And it made me wonder whilst watching it, are we all one race, or are there different categories and different types of people? And certainly I think that there is an argument for saying that the Western civilizations, by which I mean the ones that have been traditionally white, have created civilizations that I think are superior to any of the other civilizations that have existed. And I think that society peaked, as I've mentioned many times, with the Edwardian era, and I think that it's gone down ever since.
I would say that the 1920s, just prior to the fall with the Flapper girls, I think at that period in our history, we had all the skills, the education, the society and the trade, and then the stock market crashed and everything went wrong. That was the first of the big resets, I would say. If you look historically, at the clothing, for instance, fashion peaked. Fashion peaked in the 20s. It's been downhill all the way since then.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but the only area where I would slightly push back is that we did lose a lot of our leadership class in the First World War, and that obviously wasn't so great for our society. Hello, Robert.
Yeah, well, I think what we lost in the war was a lot of the breeding stock. Because if you look back in history, people were stronger then than they are now. And I don't doubt that was the millions that died in the first and second conflagrations. We lost a lot of good people. And it wasn't just leadership stock. It was just stock.
You're right about that. And this is something that I've actually written about quite a lot in my thesis. Because people like General Robert Lee, they weren't just war leaders. When they had their education at West Point, which is the Army College in New York State in America, it was more like studying classics of literature. It was a complete gentleman's course where you would learn military strategy, you would learn manners, decorum, you would learn leadership, you would learn things such as engineering. It was a proper full course for leadership that we have now lost because we don't think that that's important anymore. And that gentleman class was there to set an example, and it was to give the people beneath that something to aspire towards and to show what order looks like. We can't do that anymore.
I'm not sure it's that we can't do it, we just don't do it. We've got a leadership class now that are moved on to actually being industrialists to being, oligarchs. I mean, they're kings in their own wee empire. They sit behind a PC screen just like me. They sit here just like me, sitting behind a PC screen, right? But they're interested in their wee stocks and shares, right? They put in the stock prices. Hang on. And they control the world, right? Control the world through a screen like that.
Yeah.
Now, see when you depersonalise people so that their whole industry, let alone their life, when their whole world is a stock market, ups and downs, a screen, you're no longer people. You're no longer our people. All you are is a commodity to be bought and sold. And we're no different. That's why I said before that we're no different to the slaves.
I agree with that, because what we've got is an extraction economy. And I think that when it, as I mentioned on here before, when it starts affecting a digital representation of us, there is a virtual slave of us that exists, and that is there purely to create money for other people that we have no access to, we have no rights over. And that is, I think that philosophically, that's fundamentally wrong, that such an avatar can exist. We should have rights over that. And I think that that's something that will actually, in the near future, will come about.
I'm not sure that will. I think it's getting worse, Jake, and I'll tell you why. Only 20 years ago, if you go back 20 years ago, if I had a problem with my tax, I could pick up a phone and talk to a person about my tax.
Yeah.
Or
go to the office that they had nearby.
That's right. And I could speak to a person, an actual human being, and I could lay out my documentation, and they might in a heartbeat say, oh, yes, sir, there is a problem there. Let me just and they will dig out your file and they would fix it on the spot. Now it could take me several hours of contacting different groups, different phone lines, keeping pressing. If this isn't press 3, press 4, press 3, press, and then after several hours, they cut you off because they can't contact you to the appropriate people. Now, we're approaching a time when you will never be able to talk to a person because there won't be a single person in the loop. It will all be done by AI. So far from it coming back, I can see it getting further and further away.
I think that is a very fair point to raise, and it's certainly a very worrying thing as well, because AI really is another form of industrial revolution, and it's something
the fourth industrial revolution.
The fourth, yeah, as Klaus Schwab famously called it. It's something that we have to acknowledge is going to happen, and it reminds me of, this would be about 20 years ago, of a head teacher said to us once in the training session that a lot of the jobs these kids end up doing don't exist at the minute. And I remember thinking to myself, what a load of bollocks. But he was absolutely right, though, and that's the same for what goes on now, and society will change because of it. But it doesn't mean that is going to improve society. Having instant access to get to the tax office, for example, hasn't actually benefited anyone. It's made everything worse. It was better to employ somebody that you could go in and talk to.
That's right. Now, we are living in a society, and you're saying that these things are going to happen in the future, but they're happening now. These data centers, the AI. I mean, I've got a computer here, as I said. It's got an AI element in it. I can talk to AI right now at a click of a button, right?
Yeah.
Now, what it tells me is taken as law, is taken as the words of God. It might all be lies, and we won't know that soon. You won't know if it's telling you the truth or telling you just a complete fabrication. One of the reasons I don't like AI at this moment is I know that it's faulty, that it's no right, because I asked it to help me with a calculation, right? That it was by orders of magnitude an error on. Now, I then said, wait a minute, far from being 0.0005 foot-pounds, this torque exerted should be somewhere over 55, because I've done a calculation in my head, and it comes out at around 55 foot-pounds energy. And it says, that's right, it's 55. And it just told me what I had it is about 55 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
Which I then responded, rather than giving me an about, could you give me an exact measurement of the foot-poundage that this will exert?
Yeah, you're right about that. We shouldn't.
And it stalled. It couldn't do it. It can't do basic calculations.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct about that. I mean, I've used it to do research, and I'd say about 75% of the time it is accurate at being able to find out what texts have said very, very briefly. But if you ask it for specific things like find me quotes, it will just make them up, or it will make up books. And I will recognize that, and I will say to it, no, you just made that up. And it will, like you've rightly just said, oh yeah, I did make that one up. And also you can find, sometimes depends on what topic you're looking at, but you get very biased responses. And the only way that you can get it to stop doing it is you have to be very specific in your prompting and specify what you don't want it to do, because otherwise you will get a very left pro-woke angle, particularly from something like ChatGPT.
Well, it's only as good as the programming that went in here. And if it's programmed with a bias is all you will get.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the AI element of your future is the biggest thing at the moment. The money that's been spent on it, they're spending trillions on it. And you'll notice that the green agenda has filtered aside to the data centres, because the data centres themselves are going to use more power than small cities.
Yeah.
So they're going to be generating heat. And I'd like to think that heat could be recycled, but it probably won't be. It will be vented out into the atmosphere. So they'll keep quiet about the green agenda while they're building data centres that are producing as much heat as a city. Somebody's raised a question here, and I'm going to push it forward, right? Dizzy for Jesus is asked, what country would take the refugees if we kicked them out? I'm going to give my standard answer to that. And my answer to that is, I don't care. I would, no, we're talking about certain categories. We spoke about the categories, the criminals, the illegals, the troublemakers, the radicals. There's a lot of people here that just shouldn't be here in any case. And to say that no person illegal is an illegal is just silly. I've been all over the place. I've never once got into a country outside Europe without a passport. And even when I went to Europe, I had to carry a passport. I did, in fact, have to show it. Now, my answer to that, Dizzy for Jesus, is I would be storing these people offshore on tanker vessels that have been converted into prison ships. They could be stored there indefinitely if they are not willing to supply a passport. Anybody that crosses the channel into the country, if we're talking about the small boat bastards, then they can be stored indefinitely without their passport in a prison cell offshore, mid-Atlantic, in the middle of the deep ocean. I don't really care. And the reason I don't care is anybody that is willing to come into this country and no show a passport and expect to suckle at the teat of the British Empire as it is now, they're going to be disappointed.
Yes.
And that's no harshness, it's no unpleasantness.
No, it is not. It's not unpleasant at all. It's just that is just how things have to be sometimes. You have to have strict rules in place.
Well,
like
reception's going.
Like I could say, for example, you could have a law that discriminated against Scottish people, then that might be reasonable in certain circumstances. It might not in other circumstances. But I think that really what we're looking at is, it's often framed as us and them, but that I think is too much of a simplistic version of it. I think what we're really talking about is the people who have certain values, certain customs, certain beliefs and traditions, work with other cultures and traditions in some areas, other ones don't. What's the best way that we can manage that? Because as much as we'd all like to see many, many deportations, that is realistically not going to happen at the extent people want it to happen, if it happens at all. So I think the important thing is that we need to think about how can we restore stability to our society and make sure that everybody is following the same belief system, which is putting our country, sorry, I told you I was tired, our country and our nation and our beliefs and our people first, and everyone else comes second. Like I say, if that means that we're talking about England, then English people come first. If you're Scottish, you're not going to come first. Simple as that. And that's how we have to be. You've got to be really, really strict about it.
Absolutely. People say, I've actually spoken about this before. Now, this is something I've thought up, right, in the past, and it's something that happened in the past, that people were kept on prison ships. Prison hulks, they called them.
Yes. You know where that was on the Medway, where I used to live, where I did my teaching. It was
right.
that exact place, yeah.
People said you can't just do this indefinitely. And I've pointed out, yes, you could. And the reason you could is, if these self-same people thought that they were going to be taken from walking up a beach to located on a ship in a prison cell with the gentle sway of the oceans rocking them backwards and forwards until they found a new home, it would sour the milk and people wouldn't be so willing to come in through our airports or through our shipping ports,
yeah,
or walk up the beaches. Rather than give them a cushy life and a free hotel, cash and a phone, if we gave them a hard time and say, look, you're not getting any money, you're getting basic sustenance, and that Rupert Lowe character says, stole them on an island in Scotland. Well, I'm here to tell you now, mate, I don't want them on an island in Scotland breeding midges. Even the midges don't want them.
You're right about that. You're definitely right about that.
Now, see, if we were to take these actions, cancel their money, That would save us billions right away, because they people are walking our streets with cash in their pockets that I am supplying daily.
Yeah.
They are increasing the criminality on the streets. They're taking away basic jobs and reducing the wages for the British citizens. No.
That's a really good point, actually. Sorry to interrupt you there. But Carl Benjamin spoke about this recently, about how jobs like for all the delivery drivers, that's the sort of job that teenagers should be having. That should be their first job, where they earn a bit of pocket money, so they then realise that earning a bit of money can get you things that you can own yourself, you can get a bit of self-respect from doing a job, and obviously you can get better jobs as you move on. But yet instead we've got people doing it who not only shouldn't be in this country, but shouldn't be working in this country either, and shouldn't even be on our streets, because I think Slim is absolutely right. They should all be kept offshore, and I don't care where it is, but preferably somewhere unpleasant. I think that a decommissioned Navy ship or something like that, or a tanker, perfect. It's also an opportunity for people to earn a wage as well. For example, ex-forces people that have been put on the streets, they can be given a job on those ships protecting the British people from these animals that are kept on the ships. So it's a win-win situation for us all round, and it's common sense, so it's obviously not going to happen.
Well, not only is it a common sense approach to it, but it is a great deterrent. Because as I said, if I thought I was going to go to a foreign country, which I have been to a lot of foreign countries, right? Never once did I just walk past customs and not have some person say, "Excuse me," and give me the look. Passport, look. Passport, look. Passport, look. The look. The look. Let me scrutinise your face here, son. I don't like it. Look at you. We're going to search you. Because you're a bit the slender side. You can be one of them druggies. Are you a druggie? No, I'm not a druggie. I'm an engineer. We need to search your bags, mate. I will say this in a comical note. See if you ever want to smuggle into anywhere, just walk right behind me. Because see when I walk through customs, "Excuse me, can we search you? You skinny rat bag, you. Come here. Look at you, you're skinny. That's it, we're searching you. I've got a look. I must have a look." The fact that I don't seem to care about them must be the look. So, people, if you want to smuggle, watch for me. If you see me at an airport, just walk along 10 paces behind me. Look as suspicious as you like. Walk through customs smoking a crack pipe with a joint in the other hand. It won't matter, because they'll stop me and let you through.
No, that is true. That is true. That is a very amusing story, though, Slim.
Fact.
Good afternoon, fellas.
Good afternoon,
Hey there, Bobby.
Yeah, all good. But seeing as I'm the closest thing to an Uber driver and a delivery driver on here, I'd like to say.
We don't even have Uber here. I didn't even know what it was till somebody told me. We don't even have taxis.
I'd like to say Carl Benjamin is actually right, because you see, like, I've got some like younger like friends or people I just know in the area and that, and like you said, like even driving around the local area and that, they don't even know the roads or the local area or just stuff like that. It'd be good for them, you know. First job, getting on a scooter, fun, hopping around the place. It's better than a paper round. Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. No, it should be for youngsters here. And also, I don't know if these companies, they like to benefit off that stranger angle. Like, they're always, you know, when it comes to like service, when it comes to working classes, they like using strangers and third-party systems and agencies. Like, it's not like, for example, oh, I'm gonna order food from local pizza place and this and that. Oh, Timothy works there, so-and-so's son. Do you know what I mean? He'll probably come and drop it, or the other guy. Do you know what I mean? Some kind of recognizable kind of elements. Do you know what I mean? In the
Not here. We don't have
here they got it all out. That's what I'm saying. They've got it all out. So you're not familiar with anyone or anything. So some different strangers turn up on your door each time and all of that kind of thing. I mean, I don't order. You know, all this stuff here. Women keep ordering it.
The big monopolies have ruined everything, but
women are ordering all the Uber Eats. They don't need a man. They just want the Indian man to bring the curry, and they don't want the man. You know what I mean? They just want the curry. But you know I'm getting.
We don't have any of that. We it's not that we don't have Indian restaurants or Chinese restaurants, things like that, but there is no takeaway delivery to your house service here. It's completely alien to our culture here. Here you go and get it, or you phone up and order it for half an hour's time or something. You can't just ring anywhere up. I mean, I think there's 2 places that will do delivery, and that's it. So it's really weird for me to see that.
See the companies like Uber, but they've become massive monopolies that are global. Whether it's Uber, taxis, or any of the other big industries. And we are, in fact, if you look at the sci-fi, you get things like The Fifth Element, where several big companies run the world. And we are heading towards that, where half a dozen big corporations actually run 90% of the global trade. If it's oil, there's only half a dozen big oil companies that run about 95% of the global trade. We're heading towards a time where these massive operations, they've got more power. And it happened in the past with the British and Dutch East India companies, where 1 or 2 big companies actually had such power that they had governments were afraid of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and the whole point of the capitalist system is that you're not supposed to have monopolies. It's meant to avoid that.
Yeah, but
see what's happening with the capitalist system. Then what happens? It becomes like a super communist system, because we end up being slaves on low wages anyway. But then the whole thing of we think, oh, we're free, and this and that, but we're not really. Because if everything costs too much, and I think they just want stupid people as well at the same time, like ill-informed. They'll teach you how to fill out the forms for the rubbish stuff, the assistance, benefits, whatever, but they won't teach you how to do tax returns or how to how to be financially literate properly. They don't even teach you where money comes from, how money's made, how the actual coinage is actually made, the legal tender, the metals and stuff. They don't show you any of this stuff. The technologies behind it, it's all hidden. I know there's one of
idiots, and I don't want to misuse the word idiots, but big corporations and even, I dare say, smaller companies love idiots. They love people that are smart enough to do the job, but not smart enough to question whether money comes there, or how much profit's been made, or whether the job's done right. And if you look at a big industry, especially as something I was part of, see the people that get pushed forward for positions within these industries, they're never the smartest or the best. Because the smartest and the best will step in and say, wait a minute, that we can do this better and we can do that and we can make more profit here. So they would actually step over those giving them jobs. They actually become idiocracies.
And another thing we used to do back in the day, if there's like bad criminals or whatever, I think a lot of countries practice this, Muslim ones and even non-Muslim ones, whatever, was that they'd send people into exile or send them away to another part of the country or land. But you can't, in a way, really do that, because it's like, are you really getting rid of the problem? You're sending it to another area. Do you see what I mean? If that makes sense. So you see, back in the day, you could exile people into another town or stuff like that. And I don't know fully how that would work, because maybe they go to another town, you don't hear them, they go create a mess there too. Do you know what I mean? That's just difficult. So it's like, let's say, for example, you want to get rid of a bunch of people. Obviously, you could do that ship idea where you've got loads on some kind of ship, prison ship. You know what I mean? That could be an idea. But it's difficult because, obviously they tried, this idea. I don't know, obviously you guys are older, you can make it a bit clearer. The idea of Australia being like prison island before and stuff like that.
What do you mean?
That is true, right?
What do you mean?
The older. See what I mean? So, we don't kind of do that even anymore. So I thought that was weird when I found that. Oh, right, that's crazy. They really do that. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't even, still to this day, I wasn't quite sure if it was totally real or not. Do you know what I mean? Having a far prison island type thing. Other than that, what else were you guys talking about that AI thing? Now, with the AI thing, I mean, when I try to use it, and a lot of times, you get the answers back. To me, it sounds like it's an Indian person on the other side. like writing away. You know the way the English is written and that. You see what it is. You see what it's, Jake. Look, you're a teacher, yeah. You might know what I'm talking
Not
about.
anymore. I'm not for a decade.
Yeah, but you've got it. It's like me with the car industry, man. Once you've got the wheel, you never forget. But what I'm saying, Jakes, yeah, is that you see with Indian people, let's say from India or from eastern part of the world, when they are foreign and then they try to learn English or speak English, especially if they're upper class or got higher access to higher level of education, they will kind of access like the top type of English, if that makes sense. But you can tell it's kind of like an Asian person trying to speak the top English kind of thing. I don't know if you've ever come across that in your teaching and that. So it's like, it's like, when you write, it's like, oh, that's an excellent suggestion, sir. You know what I mean? It's like you can almost see the accent. You know what I mean? When it speaks back to you.
Yes, Bobby, we've all dealt with Indian call centres.
Yeah, I think
fantastic suggestion. What do you like excellent? That's an amazing idea. You know what I mean? It sounds, it just sounds like there's an Indian person on the other line. Like, it's like, okay, they've caught us on the phones. They're not falling for it. We're going to have to type our way out of this one. Do you know what I mean?
I think that they it shows aspiration in the way that they've adapted their language shows where they want to fit in society. And I think that there's a lot to be said for the future that you get is the present that you actually project. And so if they're projecting their present as being, look, I want to get to this echelon in society, then part of that is going to involve adapting their speech to fit in with the people within that area of society. How do they do that? Well, they do it by reading, for example. That helps the vocabulary a lot. They do it by finding people who are in that society and getting closer to them, moving in their social circle. And what we're finding is that people from other cultures, like the British, for example, are not being encouraged to do that. And therefore, you're not seeing social mobility like you should be seeing because people just aren't doing it. And they feel that access has been cut off from them. And it really hasn't been cut off from them. The opportunity is there if you want to go and look for it. But they're being told not to look for opportunities, and they're being told instead that everything is the fault of this and this and that, when there's nothing to stop young people from actually getting up off their arse and going out, getting a job and working.
Can I tell you guys?
Sorry, let me just
society is failing, and the lack of fathers in the home is one of the problems that the white people have got.
I want to show you guys some stuff in it as well. You see, like when I was a kid, when I was young.
Get Dizzy in the chat to say what she's panicking about. I want to see what she's panicking about. Go on, Bobby.
Yeah, guys. You see, like when I was a kid, 16, 17, look, I had a job, but obviously I worked for my dad's shop, video shop, and then I worked for the army for a bit, packing for them and that up in the local area. And then I worked for Iceland when I was like 17, stacking shelves, working in a freezer and that,
right? I did that co-op.
Yeah, exactly. Remember I was telling you guys, innit?
Oh yeah, blockbusters.
Yeah.
Whee.
Yeah, they're never going to admit it. These guys, my idea, they're never going to tell you. Do you know what I mean? It's my uncle's old shop, innit? Nangalade. These guys like, come on, does Bill Gates tell you that he invented Windows? He doesn't. Just Steve Jobs doesn't say he did invent Apple. But you see what it was. Yeah, what it was is like I think my uncle had some computer system or something as well. So, you guys talk about computers and that. So he had a computer booking system for videos and games and stuff like this. My uncle was doing it. So I think the big wigs from America must have said, because my uncle's shop was really popular with everyone, like everyone, especially English people. Do you know what I mean? Because it was very cool, his shop. It wasn't like Indian-fied, if that makes sense. It was one of the first shops that weren't like that. It was very kind of modern for its time in the 80s. And he had everything in there, arcades, everything. So then these American people heard about it, come down his shop, spoke to him. And then they're like, oh, we really like your idea, your concept, this and that. And obviously I was a kid, I like the full thing. But it's something to do with the computer system, his booking system, this and that. They bought it all from him. And then they go, look, we're going to call it Blockbusters, but obviously you can't use this name in the future, Video Busters and stuff like this. And my uncle probably just took the meals or something, running it. Never gave anyone else any. But what my point was is like, so that's how things like that happen. But it's just, when it comes to like changing the shop and the branding and that. You had to change it all again. But yeah, that was that. But look, it's just like that again. It's to do with computer technologies and that moving on. That was back then because you had like a login booking system, you know, in the 80s, and you know you got some students and stuff to kind of make it with him or for him, all this kind of stuff, and it was cool for the time, you know. But yeah, so
I
again,
remember
look,
computers in the 80s, Bobby.
yeah, they're modernized and that so much now. To an age, obviously, we've got AI in that, and with AI, I just think it's like a better version of Google. That's all it is. It just
But
kind of
is it
sifts through
better? If you're dealing with AI, it will give you a single response. You ask it a question, and it will give you a single response that says, "This is it. This is it." You get one response. If you look up Google, you can scan down and you can cross-reference different examples. But if you're dealing with an AI and it tells you lies, and then you ask it to recheck its data, it's still relying on the same information that it got the first time, so it will tell you the same thing.
Doesn't was not. I mean, even
See,
yesterday,
if we were to believe AI, if we were to believe AI, I was watching a thing and a guy was questioning AI, and AI after several hours. Now the whole video wasn't several hours long; it was condensed. But this guy got AI to tell it God exists. It's the white man's God, you know, Cesare Borgia nailed to a cross. That one, right? It's the Cesare Borgia. Jesus was the true Messiah, and everybody else was wrong. Now, a modern AI told him that, and I could actually. It was Jeff Taylor, and the guy that runs the channel with him. They had done it over maybe 4 or 5 different shows, and through prompting and requesting, the AI said that Jesus was the Messiah, God was real. It was the white man. I'm saying the white man's God, even though I'm well aware that he was a Middle Eastern chap, probably a sallow complexion, but swarthy. You know what I mean? Dark waves of dark hair falling gracefully on his shoulders, you know what I mean? Lovely set of flip flops, some linen attire swishing gently in the summer breeze out there in the middle of a desert, you know what I mean? All that. But if we believe AI and we take what AI will tell you anything that somebody programmed into it or it has been dictated to tell you, I'm trying to avoid any use of it.
If I could just interject there, Slim, because that is a really interesting philosophical point that you have raised. Because you're saying that essentially AI can produce things that aren't true, and that can convince a lot of people that things that aren't true are true. You could take the exact same argument about it being AI generated and put that towards religion and say that that is man-made. And the argument would still be exactly the same.
Absolutely.
So that
the difference is we are all going to be reliant on certain, and there's only going to be half a dozen of them. Remember, they're not going to be. We're going to be relying on a lot of AI systems for almost everything that we interact on a phone line with.
Yeah.
So you will have six super beings talking to you. One of 6 of them, no matter who you talk to, doing a phone line within 20 years.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, but I think that it touches on a problem that is actually a very ancient one, because it's really, in many ways, it's the same problem posed in Plato's cave allegory, where, for those who don't know the cave, there are prisoners kept in a cave, and the only way that they can interact with the world is they watch shadows that are projected onto the wall, and they think that everything that they see on the wall is true, even though what they're seeing is really shadows. What they don't see is the people who are generating shadows against the wall and creating shapes that look like things are happening. And they also don't get to see what is beyond those people, which is the world that is outside the cave, because all they've ever known is the cave. And the AI images that you've mentioned there, or man-made religion, is very much the same thing as people projecting the ideas of whatever it is onto the wall, people are then believing in something that isn't true. So it's a really ancient problem, and the fact that we can't solve it, I think, says a lot about that problem as well.
Right, I'm going to prove to all of you that AI lies.
It does
Right.
lie.
Here's a question that I ask. Let me zoom in. So I don't know if I can zoom it in or down. Oh, that's a pain in the arse, isn't it? But I put, why do Muslims pray to a dead man in Medina who was a paedophile, marrying a 6-year-old called Aisha? Short answer: Muslims do not pray to Muhammad at all, and the claim that he was a paedophile is not supported by mainstream historic scholarship. Well, that's bull. Basically,
Wiz, notice what it said there, though. It said mainstream historic scholarship. It didn't say in other scholarship that it isn't.
Yeah, and this is a surprise, right? Let's move away from the paedophile bit because it's just bloody obvious. Muslims do not pray to Muhammad at all. That's what it actually says, right? So, bearing in mind, obviously, it's told us, we're now fully aware. Okay, fair enough. Muslims do not pray to Muhammad. Ladies and gentlemen, on screen, you will see that it says the prayer in it, peace be upon you, O Prophet. They are literally talking to Muhammad. And it even says here, look, they are speaking also to Muhammad when they say, peace be upon you, O Prophet. They are literally praying to Muhammad. But AI just told me they don't. There we go. So they actually pray to the Prophet. And obviously that's excluding the paedophile bit, because we all know Sahih Muslim 5133 and 5134. So we know all that. I mean, she was 9 years old. That's not even bother arguing about that. But AI and answers say no, they don't ever pray to Muhammad. He was just a man. He was buried in Medina. No interest. Oh no, hang on. And as you can see at the top, this is the prayer. That's the prayer that they say there that I just highlighted in blue. And in that it translates to, all compliments, prayers, and pure words are due to Allah. Peace be upon you, O Prophet. So they do indeed pray to Muhammad, but AI said not. So I just wanted to prove for a fact that obviously AI does lie.
No, that's a really good.
I mean, from my perspective is, look, I've been doing these prayers and that for a long time, yeah, and a lot of the main prophets get mentioned. You know, in terms of peace be upon Jesus, peace be upon Musa, they do get mentioned, you know, in prayers and things we do. Even with Jesus, we do say peace be upon Isa, and we mention his mother also in a lot of our prayers. It's done in a respectful way, but not directly. If that makes sense, that's all I could say, I suppose, on that part. Yeah.
Well, I'm not so much Islam, so much like, because I look things up because I want to know, like, if I'm going to mention anything about Islam, I don't want to be made to look stupid and think, oh, I got that wrong. All I had to do was look it up. And sometimes, just to get a better description, I will use Copilot, the AI. And I get a lot where it says, oh, you need to take into consideration other people's religions. Oh, yeah, but I'm not getting an answer. And that's all I ever get. But in this instant, because I remember when I looked for it, I thought it lied to me. It said they do not pray to Muhammad at all. And in it says, peace be upon you, O Prophet. So they're actually talking to Muhammad saying, peace be upon you. So, like, it just annoys me that they say this, that, and everything else, but giving us lies and a false answer, that's not educating me, is it? That's just covering up and lying, and I don't like that.
I had a question for Bob.
But for us to give you any kind of answer to sound a bit more reasonable, you know, in this sense, you see where we have the Prophet Muhammad buried, right? People used to go and visit the grave a lot, and they put like a shell on it, then they put an outer shell on it, because what it was, they don't want too many people to go there So if they fell foul of grave worshipping or over worshipping or whatever, do you see what I mean? But at the same time,
Oh,
if we don't
Bobby,
have
hang on a
these,
sec. Hang on.
yeah.
I
But if
thought
we
that
don't
in
have these graves,
Islam you weren't supposed to
things there,
worship.
these people didn't exist. You see?
Am I right in thinking that in Islam you're not supposed to worship idols?
That's correct. Yeah.
So why then are they having a pilgrimage to go and see the body of Muhammad? Surely that's idolization.
But
And
this is the danger. It's like there's like you can kind of pay your respect, but you don't kind of pray to him.
Well,
Yeah, but you kind of pray for peace. It's I know what you mean. It might seem a bit difficult. In terms of idol worship, I think I don't think it was quite as strict as it is now. You know, the way people interpret that kind of thing, because when you go back in older Muslim civilizations, they had like pictures and drawings and stuff of people and whatever. Do you see what I mean? On the walls and that, if you go to certain parts of the Middle East.
what I don't understand is, and I didn't know about this until I saw a clip just a couple of days ago, actually. What's all this about going to this black box and walking around it, and all these blokes there seemingly worked up into a frenzy and crowd surfing whilst wearing dresses? What's that all about? What's going on there? Because I saw it and I thought, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, look, obviously, it is my faith, and I haven't ever been to a lot of these places. There's only so much I can even say because I haven't seen it for myself, certain places, right? So I've seen things off TV and YouTube and stuff. And obviously, as far as I know, it's you know, you go there for our pilgrimages, for the Eid one, and you know, the Ramadan one, stuff like this. We celebrate there, and the prayers, obviously, you must know some of you're teaching yourself. Like we go around it 7 times, and we pray. And
No, I
when
don't
I
know
was
any.
told,
I didn't teach religion. I taught English literature, so I don't know about religion.
fair enough. I thought, you know, you'd have a general kind of idea, GCSE level, you know, kind of thing.
No,
Yeah.
don't
So,
know.
yeah. So basically, inside it, there's nothing. Because I asked these questions to my dad when I was young as well, like because I was confused between. Well, I think you don't know about what I was with well, you know, obviously I could see we looked Indian, but then the movies we were watching, they were practicing a different faith to what my dad said we had. So that was quite confusing at the time, you see. So I mean, I did ask him then.
Why are they so worked up into this frenzy when they're doing it? Because I've never seen that anywhere else. It's not it's not, for example, what you would see in a church. It's not, for example, what you would even see at a rock concert or anything like that. It's why is there this sort of collective frenzy that they get themselves into when they get there? And it is primarily men, of course. And it is also worth mentioning that on another channel that I appeared on a few times in the past, somebody on there once said how they were constantly molested by people when they were in that area.
Sure. Look. In terms of frenzy, I don't know what exact video you're talking about, right? But obviously, I've seen people there emotional, crying, kissing a stone.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. That sort of behaviour.
Okay, fair enough. That I mean, people are going to get emotional.
But why? That's what I want to understand. Why is it they get emotional, and what are they getting emotional about? Because to me, it looks ridiculous. Because it's not my culture.
Yeah. Look, like obviously with faith and religion, with central places, whether it's the Sikh temple in India, whether it's the Roman Church and stuff like this, the Vatican, people do get emotional. Do you see what I mean? It just is, you know. That's
but why?
the best I can explain.
What
because
is about it?
Feel like, I suppose you feel like you're closer to God, you're going somewhere holy or whatever, right? In that sense.
Well, it's difficult for me to get my head around it because I don't believe in religion in that way. So for me, it's an experience.
Sure. But you believe in Freemasonry, though, innit? Haram Abith and all of that.
I don't believe in it. I go to it, but I don't believe in it. No. I just go because I
But
like
there's arguments as well where people are trying to say whether it's a religion or whether it's a boys' club and stuff like this. But then a lot of the practices are religious. You
Yeah,
see?
no, some of it is, that's true, but I think that that's much more if you go higher up the ranks. I'm at the very bottom end of it, so that doesn't really apply to me. And like I said, I don't go for the religious or all that sort of stuff. I go just because I like the people who are there. They're good people. They've helped me out with things. Why wouldn't I?
Sure. Look. Much like I'd probably say about, well, not so much now, because but I same idea in principle would exist with Muslims. But I suppose that kind of helping each other part of it's not as good as it used to be, I suppose.
Yeah, what I mean though is I could never imagine being in a situation where I would feel in a frenzy at seeing a black box. To me, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. In the same way, it makes no sense to me to find another man attractive. It's just something that my brain does not work in that way. And I always try and find out, why does religion do this to people?
Sure. I get. I think I get where you're coming from now. Like you just have like a blank slate,
Yeah,
right? In terms of beliefs.
yeah.
Now, look, at the end of the day, that's going to exist in countries and people, I suppose, that maybe aren't into religion. Like I said, look, for some people, it'll always be just hocus pocus and mythology. You know, I couldn't convince you totally otherwise. You know, yeah, I could have a long conversation with you, say, look, I've seen this, I've seen that, Jake, and this is the best I can do. This is what convinced me. I can do that, but I don't do that to people. Do you see what I mean anymore?
No,
Maybe I could give glimpses.
What interests me, though, Bobby, is that what makes people believe, and why do they believe? Because I think I think it says a lot about them as much as it does about the system of beliefs. And
yeah, you know, there's going to be different reasons.
I'm not criticizing anyone for having these beliefs. You can believe what you like, but I don't. It's really difficult for me to understand.
Sure. I mean, look, it could be different.
Sorry, boy. Where does it cross over from this weird like belief to something like an obsession? Because obviously we can see all over the internet how Islam's been 100% debunked, whether we like it or not. And I'm not sat here saying I'm going to big up Christianity, Judaism, or anything like that, because me and Jacob spoke about, and I believe in God, but religions as a whole, no, not really, and blah blah blah. But so if I can pick holes out of Christianity or Judaism, I would. But everything on the internet, when you look with Islam, like especially David Wood, apostate prophet, it's been debunked. Yet Muslims feel the need to either lie or they still believe in. So there's a threshold there, isn't there? From like, you know, this is a religion I believe. Like if I say believed in Christianity and someone said to me, like Jake said, oh, but by the way, blah, 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 this actually proves that part didn't happen. I'm like, really? Let me look into that. I need to question this because I hate being duped. So what is it about Muslims as a whole? They're like, say what you like. Yes, you can say, for argument's sake, he married a 6-year-old and whatever, who's 9, but I've got excuses for that because I'm staying Muslim. I don't understand how they can ignore certain facts to carry on believing, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay. Right. That because if is are debunked by God logic and other Christians and other whatever people that want to debunk religions, that we should just accept that. You see? Look, at the end of the day, look, belief is a thing, sometimes there's not always evidence and proof for it. That's what makes it a faith. You know, if the best, like, look, I've got an English friend, and you know why, you know, my friend, he'll ask me questions as an innocent kind of, from an innocent mind, like pretty, almost like what Jake's doing, like, you know what I mean? And then I'd realize, okay, the mindset, the way people are thinking about these things is different. People that believe in God, people that don't, you know, because he even said to me, oh, Bob, I want to be a Muslim and that as well. I like the way you are, you're disciplined, and obviously it's an English guy, my friend, And I said, look, I don't want you to put that pressure on yourself because I want you to be sure what you're doing.
because I don't want it to drive you mad or wind you up if you don't get something, or if you read something that doesn't make sense to you or what you guys are saying, and you don't like what you read, and you might read it and think of things, or it might even be, let's say it is worst case scenario, it is how you guys have explained it, all the interpretations and God Logic's explained it, because you might not like what you see here, right? But then that's going to be entirely up to you. But I just said to him, look, give it a couple of years. If you still feel like that, then fair enough. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but because I wouldn't just rush into religions and stuff like this without looking into it, looking into some of the areas, I suppose, or contentious areas of it.
But Islam's a bit different, though, isn't it? Because you are literally, like, if you took the Shahada and then decided to leave, you are indeed then an apostate. You could get murdered. I mean, this is like you won't get that. Like, oh, I want to feel like I'm going to look at Judaism or Christianity. I mean, with Islam, the consequences be a lot. Like you say, your friend. I'm sure you'll be like, look, mate, don't rush, because like if you leave. Like, to me, that's more of a cult. If you leave, we'll kill you. Do you know what I mean? But you're obviously fully aware of that. You must have thought to your mate, "Oh yeah, give it a couple of years."
Not leave because you're going to be in danger, but I don't want you to leave and get more wound up about life and lack even more direction and spiral out of control and whatever you're looking for in life, stability and that. If you're finding it through faith or family or friends or whatever it is, I was like, look, I don't want it to weird you out and you end up in a worse position than you already are. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously he wants to improve his life, and I go, look, fine. I go, I'd rather you join a gym first. Do you know what I mean? Get running a bit and this. Do you know what I mean? I was trying to be more pragmatic with him, saying that, look, I'd rather you do this. I'd rather you get a part-time job. Do you know what I mean? Because if you start going down this angle and this religion angle, it'd just be religion. I'm gonna do my 5 times a day prayers, and I go, yeah, it's all well and good, and as a religious person, but then all the other things that you need: education, skills, a part-time job, gym, this, that, all the other stuff. If you get obsessed with this side of it, you're never going to do the other stuff you need in your life as well. Bobby, and that's a lot of the things that I think Asians and Muslims have a problem with. The amount of effort we put into Islam, it kind of detracts from other things as well.
Bobby, have you ever heard the term metacognition?
What's that, man?
Metacognition is where you think about your thinking. And it's a way of critical thinking that allows you to explore where your beliefs and your ideas come from, so that you can understand why you think in a certain way and why other people think in other ways. And sometimes it's a really interesting way to look at how we construct our thoughts and our belief systems, because it can tell you a lot about your own psychology. So it's a really good thing to do. Why do I think in this particular way? Like, I could, for example, if I were to write a story about a short story, for example, and try to imagine what it's like to be a father, then that would be difficult. I'm not a father. I didn't have one when I was growing up. So therefore, my understanding of it would be very different from somebody who had, and that would affect my thinking when it comes to that particular situation. But there are so many different factors that help to organize who we are and why we think the way that we do, that I think it's a really good exercise to think about, why do we think in this particular way?
I think I can give you one of the answers. I think a lot of people that have single parent families and that can get into religion through that way, because obviously fathers ain't about, they kind of lack a bit of direction and need something to kind of, I suppose, hold on to and guide them. And if you look at a lot of the prophets, some of them didn't have dads or fathers. Like Muhammad's one died young. Jesus, obviously, they say never had a father, or Christians say God was the father.
Oh, Jesus.
And same thing with Moses and that. All these guys that didn't have their dads around. So I think there's that thing of like,
Jesus had Joseph. That was his father.
Yeah, Joseph. Yeah, they say, but I mean, Joseph. In the Islamic history, in the Islamic history thing, the Joseph thing is there's not much evidence for him as far as I've seen.
Why that is, Bobby? Do you know why? Because Islam stole it and didn't get it right. That's what happened.
Maybe it did. Maybe it did. Who knows? But it doesn't mention Joseph.
No, which is so it should do, because it's his father.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's crazy, because none of us are totally say for sure why it's like that. But these things happen.
But
So
I think
yeah, so
the point you're trying to get at, though, is that people that don't have fathers are susceptible to religious extremism. Is that what you're getting at?
not really, no, religious guidance. And look, religious extremism is a separate subject in a sense, yeah, I suppose, yeah. But in terms of guidance, yeah, I suppose that's one element. I'd say, you know, single parenting and like religion can probably help in that sense. I mean, it helped me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that sense, you know.
So what was it that
and I'm-
helped? What was it about religion specifically that helped you that I didn't find in my life that you think is a good reason for believing?
Well, you know, practically the only thing I can say that obviously psychologically maybe kept me calmer, made me kind of reset sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Weekly.
Yeah.
And when I've been to the mosque and that, it just, I suppose it just makes you more thoughtful is the most basic way I could put it. You know, what have I done during the week? What good have I done? What bad have I done? How can I, you know, improve for, you know, do things better next week? You know, it's really more like this for me.
Could you perhaps, do you think, have come to those conclusions without having religion?
Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, we're all on our own paths with how we lead through life, and whether this invisible force of God is there holding our hand, I can never prove. You know what I mean? Not I suppose not many people could. Do you know what I mean? But
I appreciate though, Bobby, that was a very challenging question that I asked. So I didn't expect you to give a full answer. You know, it needs thinking about.
Yeah. No, obviously, obviously, a lot of these questions are real big, serious questions, and like even the biggest, most well-paid scholars and book writers and that wouldn't really be able to answer these questions. Well, even Google can't, even AI can't. Do you know what I mean?
No, but like I said, it's like trying to understand somebody who is gay, because it's something that if you're not gay, you can't understand why someone would be attracted to the same sex. It makes no sense to you. And I think for me, that's how I feel about religion, that I don't have that baseline where I can understand why people are so strongly attached to it. I mean, that's probably down to rather than the religion itself. It's down to me.
I mean, look, we could go with this conversation for ages. You know, there's so many sections of religion and Islam and stuff like this. I mean, people are attracted to different things. You know, some people might be attracted to the language. Some people are attracted to the discipline. Some people might be attracted to, I don't know, the peacefulness. It could be anything.
But should Islam, what do you think, Bobby, about Islam being banned from the West? Do you think that would actually be good for the West going forward, or do you think
some people could be attracted to the extreme element even? Sorry, bro.
But do you think it should?
Cut out then. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, of course I can. Do you think Islam should be banned from the West, or do you think there's a certain arm, a certain element of Islam that needs to be banned from the West? Because as a whole, Islam could be like Christianity or Judaism, and people just get on with their lives, and there is no death and rape and genocide and God knows what.
If they're kind of like me, everyone's all right.
So do you think Islam as a whole should be banned from the West, or do you think maybe a certain arm of it should be, or do you think it's all right as it is?
I think it's okay as it is, except for when people come here winding people up. So, for example, there's conflicts going in other countries, Muslim ones. It's going in other countries, they're Muslim ones. And these kind of Muslim trouble causers come from other countries, try to come here to wind people up and get us to fight their fights for them. Oh, you're Muslim as well, why aren't you helping us? Do you see what I mean? This kind of thing. You know, and this kind of, I think there is a way of trying to poison British people's minds with foreign affairs.
Yeah.
I think that's an angle to tackle.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
I'd like to say that, can I interject? See, poison people's minds with foreign affairs. That's one of the things that the introduction of so many people from foreign lands has done. It's brought in a lot of percentage-wise ideas that are alien to our culture. And this was done deliberately under the Blair years. And in fact, Tony Blair himself said that he was doing it to rub the right wing's nose in it.
He did.
This whole cultural destruction that we're witnessing, which is affecting people of all denominations and faiths, it was done as an act of nastiness towards what he termed right wing.
Yeah, this is something I thought about, that question there. How would a ban be enforced? If we were to say tomorrow, right, Islam is banned, how would we actually go about doing it? Do we go around and confiscate every copy of the Quran? Do we stop people from having beliefs? I mean, are we going to stop at one religion? Because if we can do it for one, we can do it for all.
No.
Are we going to close down
one? We can do it for one because they are literally calling for the death of everyone, and no one else is. We got two Bobbies.
Now, Wiz, you know that
I would suggest that in response to that, if certain sects of Islam isn't a monolith, right? There's a lot of different sects. Like the Christians have got Protestants, the Catholics, the what do you call it? The Orthodox, the Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox. You get all these different sects. Islam isn't a monolith, and certain sects within Islam are far more ideologically crackpotish than others, and a lot of these terrorists come to certain groups. What we could do is term they groups as terrorist organisations and ban the as that.
Yeah.
That way we don't have to get rid of the whole of Muslims or the whole of Islam. There are only certain groups causing an awful lot of the problem. Ban them all. Ban them as terrorists and jail the buggers, send them back to the sand. That's what I say. Send them back to the sand, Bobby. That's what I say. There you go.
Those Wahhabi Salafi types, they've got a lot of the blame on them, mainly. And then the other arm, which is obviously a separate arm to that, is the IRGC thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Iranian regime
is the problem, and I mean this as a serious question. Is the problem here that the book itself is open to interpretation, and that is the problem, or is it certain people from certain places have certain beliefs, and that's the problem? Because we know that a lot of the trouble is from the Kashmir area.
Yeah. Right. I mean, look, the book, I suppose, like many books, can be read in different ways.
See, before you move forward, Bobby, can I ask, do you consider the hadiths a part of the book, or do you consider the Quran itself the book and just ignore the hadiths?
I've kind of gone in a direction of I kind of ignore the hadiths.
Right, okay.
Because reason being, because when I grew up, it was only really the Quran that we used generally, right? And it was only when I was like what, 19, 20, that someone showed me a bunch of hadith books and that. I just looked at it all and I said, look, I do enough for our faith and a religion that for a young man already that's got a single mum and this and that. I go mosque, I do things, I pray, I do as much as I can. I'm not going through all of that. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand? Right? Like we've got one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what I want to say.
The Quran is your faith.
Yeah, that one book takes long enough, let's say, for you to learn and get good at anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Bobby, if we take away the hadiths, like you say, remember last time I said to you, like, oh, get rid of the hadiths, I can go to the Quran. Yeah. I actually remembered chapter 65, verse 4, and I actually took a screenshot of it last time. I remembered it. This is why I was saying to you that obviously if you don't believe in hadiths, then you need to explain this verse in the Quran, because obviously, I will read it to you. You tell me what you think. I need to get rid of the chat because it's over the text, but obviously I don't know if you can see it, but if I read it out, this is actually in the Quran itself, obviously Quran.com, chapter 65 verse 4. As for your women past the age of menstruation, i.e. period, in case you do not know, the waiting period is 3 months, obviously being divorced, and those who have not menstruated as well. It's literally saying, so if you're married, you obviously have sex. You're divorced, you have to wait 3 months because they're not going to obviously take the risk that, you know, we don't know who the father is type scenario. That's what it's getting at. But it says
That makes sense.
their waiting period is 3 months, and for those who have not menstruated as well. So that means there are girls who haven't even started their monthly periods who are married and having sex, and that is in your Quran, and that to me like makes you want to sort of like step back and say, hang on a minute.
Well, I think that a scholar here would play a bit of chicanery, and they would focus on the language, and they would say that where it says...
You've been good at answering this question. You know, the other day I actually watched a bit...
Hang on a sec. Just to clarify this point, that a scholar would probably argue that what that quotation means is that women who are unable to menstruate and have been unable to do that because perhaps there's a defect, and they will use that to try and disguise
unable.
No, it doesn't, and it also doesn't exclude children, and that is the problem that we would have with this verse. But I can just imagine the way that they would try and get out of it meaning that, but you can't get out of it meaning that.
Yeah. So what it is like, you see, you read the Quran read, the way the writing is, it's kind of like very short, like it doesn't go into lengthy explanations, and it does kind of require.
It doesn't need to. It's short and direct. It's blunt. It's to the point.
Short, So what it does in that sense,
we know what it means.
Yeah. So the way Jake explained it, where you'd have to use your own nuances, and a way a scholar would explain it is like this, and this. It is kind of like that, Jake. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the problem that I have with it, because if this is meant to be a book that is for all time, then when people start saying, no, that was only then, it's not about now, I would say, well, surely the book is meant for all time, and it's meant to be clear to everyone for all time. So if people are interpreting it in a certain way, then the problem is within the text and the words themselves, not the interpretation.
But Jake, you displayed the methods that we use, but you're saying that method could be on shaky ground. Like if we expand upon the text and say this is what it means and this is what it means. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying that it could be, yeah.
Yeah, I get you. No, I get that. I could get where you're trying to get.
What I'm saying is that you're presented with this book that's meant to be timeless. So everything that's in there is meant to last from when it was given to your prophet for all of time. And yet what we find is that scholars and commentators and people like this, when they come across certain passages, they make up excuses and they try and play philosophical games to justify what is said instead of actually admitting what is there.
All right, look, I suppose if you used to read it blank like that, you could come to that conclusion, maybe.
Well, I've got to say, right, I've listened to a lot of the Dawa types and the Christians, the Dawa people. I've listened to Sikhs. I've listened to, even if you ignore the book, the problem comes for the behaviours of the people that read the book. Now, if we take simple facts like over 90% of the world's terrorism being Muslim based, right, or Islamic based, that's the issue. The issue really isn't where the conversation seems to always flow towards the words of the book, what Muhammad done. This is why I say I don't like to actually really discuss these events, because short comments can be discussed and debated for an eternity. Madness In the words of a song from Madness, it takes a moment, a lifetime to examine. Right? Suggs wrote that. He was a wordsmith. Now, see if you take it that any small event in any book could be discussed, especially a book that was written in one language, is barely understood by most of the people that read it, is translated by people who want to push certain narratives. Let's step aside for the book for a second. The problem is behaviours. And those behaviours dictate that 90% of the global terrorism is done by people of that book. This is what I really have a problem with. Not the book, know what people read. I've read horrific books, storybooks.
Yeah.
I've read electrical engineering books. Now, you said you fix things. All I need is an old microelectric chair. No, it doesn't mean I'm going to run about electrocuting everybody. I've studied quite a bit of chemistry. The items in this house, I could make things that would go bang. That's why I joke in the comments once in a while, bombs are a doddle. I'm an engineer. Jet planes stay in the air because of the work I'd done. Some basic chemistry isn't complicated. I mean, carbon, sulfur, and some potassium nitrate, they're not hard to get. There's your basics. Sugar, potassium nitrate, they're even easier to get. And they call that white gunpowder. Now, the knowledge of a thing doesn't translate to what people do with it. I spent my life working in a factory where my knowledge was how I earn my living. People would say, go and get that job done. And I would take the drawings, I would take the chemicals, I would take the materials, and I would go and get the job done. And at the end of the day, some gaffer would be saying to me, did you finish that? And I'd say, it's lying there in the corner with the paperwork filled in. Right? How people deal with the information in the book is the problem. How do we deal with the radical ideas and the crazy people that want to cause problems all over the world? Now, one of the problems that they have is the three no's. I spoke to Wiz a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, about the three no's declaration and the ideas that the Islamic world have against the Jews and then against other people. And see, rather than talk about the words in the book, how do we deal with the ideas where people are going to get rid of the Jews, and they don't want rid of the Jews, it's not Israel, they want rid of the Jews, right? And then they're going to come, and as somebody said, moderate Islamists believe that Islam will take over at some point eventually. The radical Islamists want Islam to take over now. That's the only difference between them. Now, whether I hold to that idea or no, I'm sure there's a lot of Islam people, Muslims, that would rather just eat a bacon sandwich on a Sunday morning, right? Get me? Look, I'm a Christian. I'm quite willing to listen to other people's ideas, discuss other people's books. I could discuss the Bible at great length. Although I don't do the chapter and verse like one of the gentlemen in the chat does. I always find that a wee bit icky.
Yeah.
Because it means you don't have to use any critical thinking or your own ideas. You just copy and paste something that's printed on the web. You don't even have to give it a moment's understanding. And as I say, understanding is what matters to me. How do we deal with the radicals, the troublemakers, the nitwits, the criminals? We're looking to build what we live in as a modern secular society, right? We can't have people running about the streets raping kids. We can't have people blowing up fucking train stations and buses. And how do we deal with that? That's the issue of the modern age. See, what's written in a book, whether it's the Vedic text, the Mahabharata, the Bible, the Art of War, the Sun Tzu. I mean, any of these books have important messages, I'm quite sure. But how do we put them into the modern society and get rid of all the terrorism and the murder and the destruction it's caused? And if you
Sure,
look,
Sim.
as I
I
say,
agree with you on that. That's
the
pretty much
Muslims
where I
have
got.
marched across the whole of the East and destroyed the whole place.
Hmm.
There, I've said
Yeah.
my bit. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much where I got to. Like, I'm, trying to fix these problems without getting pulled into all the religious arguments and dogmas and that. Because, like I said, we can go around in circles. But look, the troubles of crime, terrorism, pedophilia, all these things, yeah, gang problems, you know what I mean? Yeah, this all needs to be fixed, and I really hope we can get a handle on these things, and once they're fixed, we can put all this crap behind us finally. Do you know what I mean? Right? That's all I'm hoping for. Do you know what I mean? We can get rid of the criminals. I mean, how do we get rid of them? Look, I'm not a police sergeant. I'm not Scotland Yard. I could be Batman, but
You can't tell us.
I can't save everyone, man.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, I don't. It's difficult. Like the terrorists, we've said it before. Terrorists, we want them gone. Pedos, we want them gone. People that have come illegally, we want them gone. Do you know what I mean? Flipping major criminals, drug barons, whatever. People that bring people into the country, gone. Do you know what I mean? Illegally, whatever. They bring them in on the boats. All these kind of people. All of these gone. Where we send them? Look, obviously, the government, the coppers, whoever it is, up top, they need to get handled. But bro, they haven't had the appetite to do it. I don't know what it is, whether it's a power thing, whether it's a government thing. Whether they want these like foreign people here for all the numerous reasons we've gone through, cheap labor, whether they want the trouble here, whether they want us lot. Well, not us lot, but whether they want people just at each other's throats while they're doing other things. Do you know what I mean? They're doing it on purpose.
I think that's a large part of it.
Society that we kind of almost had in the 80s. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, go on, Slim.
I think keeping us all divided and fighting amongst ourselves is a large part of it.
Yes, it is.
That's why the establishment are happy to see it going, because while we are all fighting with each other, well, I'm arguing with you about your book, and you're arguing with the Hindus about theirs. And while the Indians are all talking about how the Mahabharata says, and then the Vedic texts come out and say, oh no, it's all alien gods with stars. See, while we're all fighting amongst ourselves, and I've got you by the throat, and you're prodding me in the eye, we will never rise up and say, those people there are the problem, and point at the people who run societies. In any of Western societies, I'm sure it's the same in the East. There's only half a dozen people at the top of the pile that are actually wagging the finger and doing all the telling. Whether it's industrialists in the West, the bankers, or the producers, if you like, the people that own the multinational corporations. Now, if you go out to the East, it tends to be big industry. Japan, it's big industry that run it. But in Asia, it's the religious people that run it, especially in Asia Minor. We've got the mullahs, I know the yogurty kind. We've got the mullahs and the
billionaires
are running the place. And they are billionaires.
The billionaires are all in the opium, everything.
Right.
So,
but out in the East, your religion, basically, the people at the top of Europe are out there in Qatar with billions in the bank, telling the Palestinians to kill each other, but they're not standing. They're not standing on the front line dying. Now, we've got the same problem all over. There are only very small groups of people standing behind the lines, riling it up and causing other people to kill themselves in the streets.
Yeah.
These are the things. See where we're all doing each other in. None of these people, none of your religious leaders will have to do anything but sit and say, how much gold have we got in the bank account?
You see, you even mentioned Qatar there. Qatar, yeah. See Qatar, yeah? Like, the way that they operate, it's almost like, obviously you guys have probably seen Star Wars, but there's like that Star Wars canteen. And basically it has all kinds of people in it from all parts of the universe. That's what Qatar is like, basically. So it will have like opposing sides there making deals and stuff like this in shady places and that. Oh man, I'm saying all this about all these Muslim countries. They ain't gonna let me in anywhere, man. You're not gonna have to keep me.
Well, I had
banned.
a thought about something recently. I don't know if there's anything to this, but one thing that did occur to me is that let's suppose that this is being deliberate. Is the reason that they've brought a lot of these violent Muslims over to Europe a way of finishing off that sort of culture by getting Europe to sort of get rid of that culture out of Islam? And they're kind of like they're sort of laundering the ideas out of Islam by exposing them to Europe. That could perhaps be the thinking behind it.
I mean, look. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a theory. I mean, the only thing I'd say is, like, you know, when we had the EU thing, for Europeans or Western Europeans or Caucasian Western Europeans, yeah, it was all right for you guys to have EU freedom of movement. It was kind of generally reasonable, good kind of thing in general. But there's a lot of still downsides with the sea and that. But the issue happened is when that got abused and they start letting in all the immigrants in from Syria, Lebanon, and all of that through from Turkey and Germany and that, and it started to get abused. And then we left the EU because we didn't want the EU passports to be handed out like that, like candies, like candy. And these people just going wherever they want around Europe, you know. So we're like, if we leave the EU, we don't have to put up with this, and just they're going to give us like 500,000 people or 500,000 people or whatever a year. Actually, like I said, that's your share. You have to take it by EU law. So we were like, yeah, let's vote Brexit, so we don't have to do this, and we don't have to put up with their mess and their bureaucracy and that, right? And so we've done that. So then what they've done, they scammed us now another way, where it's like, okay, we won't bring them in via EU freedom of movement. We'll just shove them in on the boats and just let them come in that way, usurping our laws here, and then initiating refugee laws of, you know, when you've come across the sea, oh, I need help, I need, you know, I need saving. It's like an old world rule, maritime rules and all this come into it. So if you come through the sea swimming, yeah, you come across sea illegally, but once you get here, you say, oh, I need help, I'm a refugee, then I'm an asylum seeker, then they have to help you. So this is what they're doing. So rather than go through the EU route, which they're scamming in anyway, they goes, oh, we'll scam it in this way.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, it is. It's a massive
what's happened,
scam.
the British people haven't been listened to. And obviously there's a lot of Muslims or Asians on, let's say, the pro-immigration side, pro-lefty side, that are kind of pro-immigration in that sense of, oh, it doesn't matter what color they are and that. And even some of my own Asian Muslim friends and that, you know, I've had arguments with them as well. And they've said to me, oh, Bobby, if like an Asian Muslim person comes in and they've done a crime here, what's the difference between them doing the crime here and doing the crime there? A crime's a crime. And I guess, yeah, but there'd be one less fucking statistic here, innit? That's what the English people are saying. We'd rather not have that one person get fucked over. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we'd rather all 100,000 of you, they're saying that we'd rather 100,000 you buggers bugger off than one person here get harmed. That's what the Englishman's argument is. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see,
I think a lot of it is to do with the assimilation factor as well. In that, let's suppose you moved in next door to me. We wouldn't have any problems because I know what you're like. It would be
have a good time.
But what could happen is someone could move in next door who has more stricter beliefs than you do, and they might, for example, say to me, "Oh, we don't like your dog barking in the garden." I don't have a dog, but they might say because they find that offensive. To me, how dare you come into this country and into my territory and tell me how to live in my own house, would be my argument to them. And when people try and impose their beliefs onto your beliefs, which are based on customs that have been here for far longer than Islam has ever existed, that's what people get offended by. Because Islam is very quick to say,
sure.
You've got the right to go out and pray in the street, but what they don't understand is how that looks to other people.
Man, you know what? You've given this example. I'll give you one. Ages ago, I used to work in an estate agent, yeah. And in one of the back roads, there's a Muslim family that's really strict, right? And next door to them, there's a bunch of Europeans that moved in that are quite liberal in that. So they'd go into their back garden, they'd take all their clothes off and sunbathe naked and shit like this, So then, right, so then these Muslim like guys and that live there, they got angry, man. They come knocking on our estate agent and I goes, yeah, listen, what kind of people have you moved in next door to us? Because we've got kids here and that, and and we go, look, man. I goes, look, we didn't necessarily know they were going to do that, but unfortunately, you can't say anything. Do you know what I mean? You can't say anything like, you know, this is how they enjoy themselves here. Because you're just gonna have to learn to close your eyes. Do you know what I mean? A bit,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, is that it? You can look, what can we do in it? They legally got all the documents, they pay their money, they do what they're supposed to do, they're not causing trouble. I goes, I know. I go, look, I'm Muslim as well. I can understand from your point of view, it looks bad. He goes, maybe I wouldn't like it either, but to be honest with me, I'd just close the window and go back indoors. Do you know what I mean? Why can't you just do that?
No, this is
Yeah.
the problem that I think we're having is what you've just said is wrong. What we don't understand is why people can't just go inside and get on with their lives. Why do they have to try and impose their culture on other people? And it obviously is because they think that they're right about everything. They think that they're superior because of their religious beliefs, if they're that way inclined. And that is something that the English people find really offensive. You know, we hear about certain minority groups being offended by things, but actually, when we see our culture being imposed upon, that is something that is not just offensive, it goes far beyond offensive. Because this is our country, our beliefs and our traditions come first. And other people have to fit in around us. We do not.
Sure, man. Look, even if you guys, look, man, you're here, yeah. The British passport isn't as strong as people think, and obviously, no EU freedom of movement as well. So, what you guys have as full English, man. This is all you have. Whether you own a property here, whether you don't, you know, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, this is your home.
Yeah, and it's not just our home, because like I've said on here many times before, there's the inherited cultural aspect. So my hometown, I like saying this list, so I'm going to say it again. But in my hometown, there is evidence of a Roman vineyard, there's a Roman well, there's a Saxon church, there's a Norman castle, there's Victorian buildings, there's every era, including, you can go back further than actually the Romans, because they've also found a lot of Stone Age arrowheads and things like that around here. So there have been people living in this area of the country since the Stone Age and before. That's how long my history goes in this country. So when somebody says, we're going to go out and we're going to pray in the streets, then to me,
look,
it's like coming into my house and just pissing all over my garden.
Yeah. No, look, I can, what was I going to say? Oh, man, you were saying something, there's something I was going to say about that. Yeah, you're saying about these people taking a mick a lot, but you see, like this stuff you're saying about the Saxons and stuff like this, so not many Asians or Muslims, and be totally honest with you, side of you on this one, look into these things or have a fascination with any of it or have an appreciation of it. I do, but I'm probably one of the rare ones. Do you know what I mean?
I think you're right there. I do think you're right, and this is a big problem with the education system, is that they should know that if they're living in the country, they should know its history. And you know, I'm really
but
proud.
The stuff you mentioned, I'd love to see it all. Do you know what I mean? All the stuff you just mentioned, I'd personally love to see these kind of things, you know.
Oh, I'm really proud of it. You know, the castle in our town is ruined, but it is the symbol of our town. It was given to the town. It is our property. And what I would absolutely hate to see is a load of radical Muslims praying in front of that castle, or in front of the Saxon church, or in front of the what's the time period I'm thinking, the Georgian townhouses that we've got, because it's very rare, and I appreciate that I'm fortunate in that regard, but it's rare to actually see all the different layers of English history literally around you, to the point where you're so used to it you don't think any other way. So for me, I'm steeped in that cultural inheritance. But if somebody has come here and has a different set of beliefs, which they put first over my culture, then there's a massive problem, because my culture is something that it didn't start with the Saxons. We've been here for thousands and thousands of years before that. And this is my land. I do not want it to be taken over by other person's belief. They're perfectly entitled to come in if they behave themselves and they do things privately. But if they try and say, no, my culture's better, we want to do this, that's where I have a problem.
I think what it is, Jake, as well. I think like with European or especially English and Irish and Scottish history, it is relatively underappreciated, a lot of it, because when you're looking into the past, yeah, a lot of people they'll be like, oh, Egypt, the pyramids, they'll point out all these other things around the world, Inca, this and that, but then they won't really make a big deal about history and ancient history here. Like a lot of people wouldn't make that effort to find out either. Like, okay, we've got pyramids over there in Egypt, we've got Incas and this stuff, we've got, you know, whatever Middle Eastern history, Muslim history and that, Greek history, whatever. And then it's like, okay, and no one like here, it's like when they teach history and that here, it's so weird because they don't even teach it properly about this Saxons and stuff. The way they teach it here in school, they teach it what they do teach, they teach it in like a boring way.
Yeah.
As well. When they when they did mention the Saxons and that, like I found it more interesting once I left school. If that makes sense.
People think, or there seems to be in the Pakistani community a belief that history in this country started when they arrived and rebuilt it after World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that they think that, but you're also right in that our schools aren't teaching our ancient history either. And when they do, they're not doing it very well. I mean, yes, they might teach about the Romans, but what they don't teach is, for example, when it comes to the Saxons, a lot of people think that that we started with Saxon history. We didn't. The Saxons didn't come over here and kick all of the British people out. The British people assimilated into the Saxon societies. They didn't go anywhere. I mean, yes, lots of them moved to the south and to the west, but there were still Celtic people who were living in East Anglia at that time. They just assimilated within it. So it isn't true that this is a nation that has always been one of immigrants. That's absolute bullshit, because if you think about it, the Romans came here in the 1st century. The Saxons weren't coming here until it was about the 7th century. So you've got 600-700 year gap. That's not exactly what I would call a model of mass migration. Same thing with the Saxons. It happened over hundreds of years. The Normans was much quicker, but there were very few Normans actually came in. What their genius is that they took over the establishment. So they only needed a handful of them to be able to run the country. But the English people have got a history that goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's much older than Islam, and it is something that we should be proud about and that we should absolutely know about. And I am really proud of where I come from. I showed yesterday that I have a guitar that I had made that has the symbol of my town on the headstock, because it's something that I am particularly proud of. Although I know that it's just a myth about our town's history, I understand that. But that myth is part of the identity of people who live around here. So the black dog that's on a bolt of lightning, which is our symbol, you will find it named for lots of different things. Like, for example, the local football team is the Black Dogs, the running club, the Black Dogs. So that myth that comes from the mid-1500s, even today, is still important to the people that live here day to day. And we want it to stay like that, because the motto of my town is, let us forever hold fast to the old virtue. And that is what I think a lot of English people believe in. We don't want this progression, this multiculturalism. We want our history and our traditions respected and taught and celebrated, and instead of being demonized all the time.
One of the big issues, if I can interject here, one of the big issues we're having, Jake's talking about how we need to maintain our culture, right? And our culture is the very important thing. This is one of the biggest things, or the biggest hurdles. Culture. We used to say, and hear often, when in Rome, meaning, see, if I go to a foreign land, I do as they do. I respect their ways. I mean, the British Empire done it. The British Empire didn't go to India and wipe out their religious beliefs. They embraced it and they supported it. Now, we're now in a situation where there is an invading force coming in and burning churches on a daily basis. It's not something that's just related to an ideological view somewhere floating in ether where we've all got opinions. There are material losses being incurred on a daily basis, whether it's our children, our culture, or our properties. These are the things that really are hammering it home. If other people could come in and behave themselves like good house guests, none of this would have been an issue. When do you ever hear anybody complaining about the Chinese in their Chinatowns?
What they'll do, yeah, is like, let's say for example, some of the crazier people that kind of come in, yeah, and they kind of literally just skits. They'll be like, oh, the way this country works, oh, we feel sorry for them even more because they're disabled and skits, so they need even more help. They need our help even more. Do you know what I mean? So if there's someone here like just like talking about madness, saying, you know, like, you know, bomb the Jews on the train and that, and doing all that kind of stuff, yeah, right? If there's people like that, they'll be like, oh, let's bring them in and like we need to rehabilitate them. But it's like, it's not our job, man. Like, let them do it in their country. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the more emergency you need, the more they're willing to help. The more messed up you are, the more they're likely to help you. Do you see what I mean?
Well,
it's the same with everything.
It's very much a left-wing view of the world, though, isn't it?
Yeah, even with jobs, they say to me, oh, someone like you're a highly intelligent young Asian man, and me, yeah, well, old now, but you know, you should be able to do this and do that and find this and find that. And be like, hold on a minute, I only need a little bit of help. But then these people that are total failures of society, you give them all the help.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
And I can give you good examples of that. I've got a friend that I grew up with, and he's a drug addict, right? It would be fair to say, and I'm going to use the word, he's a junkie.
Yeah.
He gets everything that's gone. He actually gets extra money, and he gets food parcels because he's a junkie. Because he takes all of his money and blows it on stuff that he injects into his arm. The amount of support that these people get, whether it's that or people that have other complaints, even, it's incredible to me that we've gone so far in the support of all the wrong people.
Yeah.
Now, my views are quite strong, and I'm not ashamed of my views. As I said, we're in a situation where our kids are being abused, our churches are being burned, our culture is being wiped out, and we are listening to a lot of cry bullies whinging away like the squeaky wheel on a wagon, squeaking away, and getting everything they cry for. Oh, we need special rights. There, they go and burn down some Jewish synagogues. And do they protect the synagogues? Oh no. Oh God, the Muslims need protection for their mosques in case there's a reprisal. They're not protecting the churches that are getting burnt. They're not protecting the synagogues that are being destroyed and burnt down. What they're doing, and this is causing more and more of a problem. It's actually inflating the issue, because what people see is we're being attacked and the Islamists are getting protected. That's not going to end well. It can't end well. Yeah. Because we see this whole two-tier setup happening. And see, even if I was willing to tolerate others coming in, I think they should be following our rules. And this is where I would be a hardliner. See those that aren't following the rules and are burning down churches and all that.
Yeah.
I would have public executions back for these people.
You're right, and it kind of, in a way, it reminds me of in the classroom about how you set a rule and you have to stick to it. So if I said, for example, right, we're doing a practice exam today, no one's talking, and then as soon as I say it, some kid, for example, the nicest kid in the class might turn to someone and say, oh, can I borrow a pen? I then am in a position where I can't then say and let that go, because if you want to be seen as serious, I have to say to that nicest kid in the class, get out of my class. Because if I don't, you lose authority. That's what we're finding with our government. They've lost authority because we no longer believe that they're there to protect us, which is what their fundamental role is. And I'm not sure that it's entirely deliberate. Some of it, yes. But I think a lot of it is more to do with a succession of badly thought out policies where they didn't think what the end game would be, such as the Equality Act, which I think does have a purpose. There are people like the disabled shouldn't be discriminated against in the workplace. But the Equality Act has got things in it, particularly to do with race and religion, that shouldn't be relevant and that actually have done more harm than good. And that's why we need to get rid of them.
Yeah, and the worst thing is, you see with this DI, man, I've said it a few times, the DI will go to the people like the kind of like the that kind of a bit crap. Like, do you see what I mean? Like someone like me who the system will regard as an intelligent Asian man. But I'd like to say that now I'm 40 plus. I can say
Is
it,
there
right?
such a thing, Bob?
Regarded as a reasonably intelligent Asian man. They won't give me the DEI. They'll say, oh no, you've got this, you've got a degree, you don't have a criminal record. But someone, let's say someone's been in prison, an ethnic that's been in prison, maybe Muslim, maybe not, they've done a dodgy crime, they come out, they'll get all kinds of help, rehabilitation, help back into this, help back into the gym, help into the workplace, all of this kind of stuff, right? And I'm like, we don't really get the support, you know, like from DEI or anything. I've never got any of it. Like with me, they'd make me compete with the best of the best English people when private school education has had all the best stuff in this country. They'll make me compete against people like that. Now, you're a really clever Indian, so you have to go. And I go, no, man, but I'm broke, innit? I'm not like them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, right. I might sound smart in that sometimes, but I go, look, that's just me trying, you know, in life, which a lot of people have just forgotten to do, you know, especially from my background, even just talking to other people and that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Outside of their bubbles, like, you know, which is why I like coming on here, because I don't like talking to the people I've had around me. They're boring, don't make me think, you know. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just too much. I was just me on my own and my cars and me, you know.
Yeah, I found it got quite difficult to keep speaking to a lot of Muslim people, to be honest with you, when I was on other channels, because I found that they were really quite dishonest and quite rude, and just a lot of the time just wanted an argument. And I'm not interested in that sort of thing. I like having conversations with people. I like finding out why they believe what they believe in, why they believe a certain thing that I don't believe in. It's not about finding out a solution for the problems. It's about exploring what possible solutions could come from what we talk about. Because we're not going to find all the answers, but oh, nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had some.
Can I just add one point to that? They see, like, even when I'm on here and that, it's not about winning an argument with you guys or losing an argument. It's not about that. It's about just having a conversation.
Yeah, and that's
Do you see what I mean? I think a lot of people get wound up. If I don't represent Islam properly here, I'm going to look like an idiot and I'm going to make all the Muslims look stupid and they're all going to cuss me or whatever. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
you know?
And that won't happen. That's the good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, what it is with me is just like us guys talking, seeing if we can actually come up with a few ideas and a few solutions, maybe see if we can flip in, you know, root out what's going on exactly, which we mostly have done, fleshed out. And I suppose it's just a matter of hopefully we can find a fix in it, you know, but none of us are in bloody government, innit? It'd be good, innit, if us are all in there, innit? It'd be good, man. We've got a Scotsman, we've got an Indian man. Now we've got Jake from the country, we've got Wiz, you know what I mean? It's a multicultural right here.
No, but it is very multicultural, and it's really interesting when in the chat sometimes I trade some comments with Phil, because Phil, coming from Birmingham, has got a completely different outlook on how Britain looks to me. It's almost like two different countries. So it's really interesting to find out other people's experiences and see how things are for them. Same with Slim as well. You know, I've never been to Scotland. I don't know what it's like up there, but I can understand what it's like in that area. And it's
cold and they're all drunks.
Yes, they are.
But that's another thing, yeah. Like, as a Muslim, I'd love to see the Muslim sites, yeah, but you won't catch a lot of Muslims saying this. I'm probably the only one of the few handful of people that do this. I'd love to go around England and UK and see all different parts of the UK, Scotland, Ireland, and I'd love to do it. You know, I wish I had the money to do it, you know, and see everything properly in this country. If I'm stuck here and I can't afford a holiday, do you know what I mean? The best I could do is have a, you know, drive around each bit, man, have a look around, man.
Yeah, but what is stopping you?
That's my idea of a holiday.
If you're in London, you've got the British Museum, that's free. You can go there. Yeah, no, I do some of the London stuff like that, but I'm more of I like the quiet stuff. Okay? The townhouses, the country houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the quiet stuff, the peaceful pieces.
Around here, if you go just, I don't know, 10 minutes drive away from here, when you're literally out in the country, you quite often see in the distance these great big country houses. There's absolutely fucking loads of them around here. But they're all really, really isolated because they're not in towns. They're just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So this is why I like my old town in Luton, where I was from. It was more quiet. It was more relaxed. It was, you know what I mean? Probably more similar to your areas, Jake, in a way. Do you know what I mean? Back in the 80s, especially.
I don't think Luton's like around here. Here it's more
Yeah,
like.
but you look keep seeing the part. You're not on with Luton. You look keep seeing the proper crap part on TV. They keep showing the proper shit part. I said, look at Luton.
Well, I would say where I am is probably like England was in the cities in the 60s, probably more like that. Or it's like if you remember that TV show, The Darling Buds of May. Do you remember that? With Pop Larkin?
Yeah.
That's what it's like around here. It's that sort of environment. I mean, let me give you an example of one thing that will just show you how quaint it is. There's a pub that's in the middle of nowhere, has no electricity, it has a generator. And back in the day, it used to be a smuggler's place because obviously no one would go there. If I want to, I can walk from here, I can go down to the marina. There's a bloke there with a dog and a boat, give him a couple of quid. He'll row me down to the pub. He'll wait for me to finish my beers and then he'll row me back again. That is the sort of area that I live in. It's very old-fashioned and relaxed.
The most old-fashioned area I've ever been to was Winchester.
Yeah,
I went there for filming.
Well, that was our capital city.
Yeah, I went there for a filming thing once, but I went to this town there to do some filming stuff, and we're staying there for a couple of days. And I noticed these guys, they obviously speak in English, but it felt like when you're talking to them that it was like 100 years old, the town. I didn't know if it was just me at first. Yeah, I thought, but they speak English in a really kind of specific, old-fashioned kind of type of way. Like, not like Shakespearean, but just, you know, just closer to English from the 60s, 70s, whatever, in a sense. And the way they dressed in that, like they had like old-fashioned kind of English clothes on that. It's like you went back in time. I noticed it when we drove in and went to this building to do the filming and that. And then like they were asking me, like some of the people that are in the building, oh, you got any plans tonight and that? Like, what are you gonna do? And I was like the only Asian person in the town. And he goes, what are you gonna do tonight? Because I don't know, because I might just go somewhere and watch the football or something. And they just like went, let's carry on walking. Like that. And then one of my bosses come over to me and he goes, yeah, Bob, like, what are you doing like that? And he goes, yeah. He goes, these guys asking you, like, what are you doing and that? And he goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, I was thinking just go watch the football. Because, I didn't tell you something, Bob, because what is it? Because, you know, in this area, they don't have any TVs. He goes, what do you mean they don't have any TVs? He goes, yeah, they don't watch TV here. Goes, are you serious? And he goes, yeah, look, have a look around after work, walk around a bit, whatever you're doing. Like, they don't have any TVs in this whole area. They don't have them. I said, no way. I go, I don't believe you. It's like 200 years. And I went out and I had a look around. No one had TVs. Crazy, innit? And when the COVID thing was on, you know, COVID lockdowns and this and that, this was the same town. They didn't do the COVID thing because we didn't know about it. We don't have TVs. They did this.
A lot of these valley towns, though, they didn't have any TV reception until recently when they get satellite.
Yeah,
some people don't know how different the cultures are in England. Like, I've had experiences where I've been, like, I haven't been around a lot around the world or whatever, but I've been in Wales and I noticed people are a bit different there. I went Great Yarmouth and I noticed people are a bit different there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
You're well travelled, huh?
I'm well travelled within England, man. You know, but somehow I just ended up in these places. It was my best friend's wedding, innit? I went Great Yarmouth, so I had to go. Literally, I had to go.
What does it tell you, though, Bobby, about our country? What does it? When you go to these different places and you see that they're different, what do you notice about that?
It's a lot more interesting than people make out. England.
Right. In
That's first thing. A lot more diverse than people would think. In the sense of English cultures.
Yeah. I think.
Do you know what I mean? It's not just one type of Englishman.
Well, I would say to give an example of that, you can really tell in our language and particularly our accents. So I would know, for example, from here, just kind of I could work out from a radius where someone is from just because how they speak. So I would know
absolutely
someone who is from Suffolk. I would know straight away, or I would know if they're from Norfolk because I live on the border. And just to prove how that is, it would be to take the word snow. So if it was snowing, someone in Suffolk would call it snoo, whereas someone from Norfolk would call it snow.
Yeah.
So it's a really different sound that you get.
And it is in fact the case that a lot of times you can tell a city and the area within a city someone comes from with an accent.
Yeah.
And someone in the chat earlier actually said that, oh, you're a fellow Ouija, a Glaswegian. Just for hearing a few words said.
Yeah.
So
For a bit.
we're not, just like every other group, we're not a monolith.
No.
But we would like to retain a lot of that. We like to keep the differences. And I think more than that, we would like to keep things, maybe not as they are, because things are always changing, but we'd like to keep things basically where people could live and coexist. And the coexistence is fading away fast with all the troubles that a lot of the external people are bringing in with them.
Yeah.
There will be no coexistence.
And it's not the case that we haven't had people who've come here before and not managed to fit in. I mean, I know that, for example, here, after World War II, there were a lot of Italian and Polish immigrants came over. And my next door neighbour, his wife was from Estonia. So it's not that people didn't come over and didn't assimilate or didn't fit in. But they certainly did. It's just that the way that some cultures can fit and some cultures don't seem to want to fit, and that is problematic.
Yeah, that is the big issue. The inability to fit in. And I think it is an inability rather than a lack of desire. They're just not capable. But when you look at the way we spoke about the sub-Saharans, they're still living basically as they were 500 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think you can even expect a culture like that is still living using animal feces and wattle and daub to build houses. You can't expect them to fit in. They're just too different. They're too alien to our way of living and our culture.
Do you think that perhaps it's because people in the West feel that they've advanced away from that sort of civilization, and that they see it as a step backwards?
No, I don't think it's that we see them as anything. It is what they are. If you want to use the word backwards, I'll be happy to go along with it. We don't consider them to be backwards. They are backwards. They are backwards. You look at any place in Africa outside. In fact, we'll talk about South Africa if you want to talk about backwards, because South Africa, you can look up a photograph, and I said this the other week, of any street in any city in South Africa and compare it to a picture of 30 years ago and see how that's went backwards.
Yeah, for sure.
In only one generation, 20 years, for instance, South Africa has crumbled to nothing. It was a modern, Western-style country, towns, infrastructure of every fashion, roads, sewage, running water, electricity. Now they have power outages, they don't have water, they don't have anything, and their streets are falling to bits.
Yeah.
Now, that's what Africans have done to Africa. It's not just that they're backwards and we consider them to be. It's measurable. They are backwards. Anywhere in Africa, they have major problems with corruption. You send aid to Africa, and I think that's the biggest waste of money that ever been created. Because almost all of the aid is soaked up by the people that are meant to be dishing it out. Any that actually gets it. When I was a child, my mum would say to me, oh, there's starving Biafrans out there. You're no eating your dinner. And there's people in Africa starving. That was 50 years ago. There's still people in Africa starving. Nothing's changed in half a century. We've sent them billions. We've sent them expertise, skills, support, and cash. And they squandered every single bit of it. And then you go to places that should be major industrial hubs, like the Democratic Republic of, all right, they had it hard under slavery. The Belgian king was a bit of a nasty piece of work. Aye, that was 100 years ago. They have not moved forward in that 100 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all keen on firing guns and shooting guns at each other. Do they produce their own guns? No, they buy them from Russia. They're using ex-Russian military guns. They are backwards. And if we can't actually just admit reality, we're never going to bring them forward. The Democratic Republic of Congo is a good example. They've got resources up a yin-yang. Almost every mineral you would want to own in a modern manufacturing facility, they have in abundance. They've got gold, they've got diamonds, they've got Colerex tantalum. It might not sound much, but it's important if you're producing nickel alloys and any steel. They've got all these mineral resources, and they're digging it out of the ground with a stick. We moved on to using sticks about 500 years ago to dig in the ground.
Yeah.
We had the Copper Age, we had the Bronze Age, and then we had the Iron Age. Now we're on the Titanium Age. And us, the Westerners, we are now producing artificial diamond to dig holes in the ground and pump out oil. They people are still digging in the dirt with sticks. I don't think it's fair to say they are backwards. It's just reality. Now, any effort you make to bring them forward is just abused. They take advantage of it and then they sell it back to you as a scrap. How can you deal with people like that?
You can't.
It's like the slaves. The slaves go at my pet project, Liberia.
Yeah.
The freed American slaves. This is something that you should have spoke about in your lectures and never did.
I did. No, I did actually. I did. No, you're right. I know.
The freed American slaves were given free passage to a country that was purchased for their benefit, right?
Yeah.
They were shipped over to their homeland, their supposed homeland in Africa, and given a whole country, Liberia. The first thing they done when they got there was enslave the local population. They're dealing with people that don't know any different and don't care to do any different. And now we're in an age where General Barbecue and such like, and this is genuinely what they called themselves during the revolution, General Butt Naked, because they fought butt naked. I mean, these aren't organised, these are just gangs, warlords. Now, we import them into our country. We let them come in, we give them clothing, we give them a phone, we give them money, and then they walk our streets, terrorising the neighbourhoods. We cannot tolerate that any longer. We can't tolerate the intolerable. And see, bending over and saying, oh, but they don't know any better. When in Rome, honestly, see these people, round them up, I say, and get them off of the mainland.
Yeah.
It's the only way we'll ever be able to deal with it. See, until we're willing to sour the milk and say, no, you're not getting any money, we're not giving you a phone, we're not giving you a free hotel, and in fact, we're not giving you anything other than basic sustenance. We will just keep getting more and more and more of these people from all over the world. And the sad thing about it is, decent people, and by decent people I mean educated and willing to work, people that are what you would want in your society, they're not coming here.
No, they're not. We're getting the worst of the world.
We're getting the worst. And in fact, if we're talking about Asia and the Muslim crowd themselves, we're actually getting a lot of the Islamists, the Islamist countries themselves don't want.
Yeah. And that's
right?
the big problem that comes from the likes of Keir Starmer and all of his human rights boyfriends. That's where all that shit comes from, in that they, those people have rights, they've got the right to have a family. No, I don't think so.
See, this is it. They in the exile.
If you go to Afghanistan, a lot of the radicals for Afghanistan are now living here. Anywhere in the Pakistani area, the northern India area, a lot of their total radicals that they were sick of have moved here. And it's the same all over the Middle East. Anybody they don't want, they're moving here.
Yeah,
they don't even want them.
Afghanistan, there's loads of women over there. All the men are here.
That's right. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you, I don't understand. There's that thing of like, a lot of the Muslim countries got money now and wealth and everything, right? I don't understand why they wouldn't try to go to those places at first. look, fair enough. Like my parents, were, they came a long time ago during the colonial times and that, right? Grandparents, all of that kind of stuff, right? Suppose it's a different argument. Some people say, oh, you're being taking a mick, like, you know, your people got here and that. But I go, look, man, it's like, because India, Pakistan, that was all owned by England, and it's a bit different. That was the union then, or whatever you want to call it. Do you know what I mean? That was a type of union then. That goes, fair enough. That goes, is, you know, it goes back a certain amount of time. But I goes, look, when we did come here, our kind of people, mostly they all behave. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the problems we're getting now, we're getting the last 25 to 40 years, let's say. I know there's been other problems in that, but generally speaking, the stuff we can all see around us all the time, the problems and that. It wasn't like that before. Before, if there's problems,
Well,
you
see,
knew I get them up.
before it was people who were working hard to work their passage here. Now we're getting the NGOs sending them here, and they're being paid to come. Your father's generation, for instance, he worked hard to buy his ticket. He came here and then he worked industriously. Whether I know you told us he worked in a corner shop. I'm not just using it randomly, right? But the people were getting out. The NGOs, the Soros mob, they're being financed to come here and are coming here to destroy our society. Why? I don't know. The psychopaths in the world that run these things. But they're not the same people, Bobby.
Yeah, of course. So these criminals, let's say dangerous people come from, let's say, Muslim countries, extremists, yeah? They're going to say, oh, we're unsafe in our country, but you've been doing crazy things in your country, and now you want to run away, and you're a dangerous person. Now you want to run away to this country, and then this country's like, oh, look, asylum, and this person's in exile, let's take them in. But why aren't we doing that? Why don't we exercise these rules and do it the other way around? Do you see what I mean? You just push people out like that. So it's really weird.
Ruining it for everyone.
Yeah,
including your father's generation. They're spoiling it for them and all.
Us as the dumping ground.
It's difficult for us to really understand who we should and shouldn't be allowing in, because they've just, by letting everybody in, they've fucked every single thing up. So it's now impossible for us to work out who the good people actually are, and that is a huge problem. Because if I'm sat on a train, if we're sat on a train right now, I could see Bobby sat there. I don't know him. My instant thought is going to be he could be a terrorist. And I would think that because I'm not used to seeing brown people around. That would be instantly what I think. He's foreign. I don't trust him straight away. But because I've spoken to him and I understand that he doesn't think like that, then that's different. But if we then apply that to the nation as a whole, we've got no idea who these people are, and they shouldn't be here, because what I think is going to happen, and I hope this doesn't happen, but I think that there will be an atrocity, not at the level of October the 7th, fortunately, but I think that will be bigger than the Manchester Arena attack. Something like that I think is going to happen in one of the cities, and as soon as that happens, all hell is going to kick off. That city is going to burn, and I think that that could result in some form of severe penalty for the Muslim community.
Can I tell you something, Jake? Yeah, you know what you just said there is like, so even with my Asian and Indian friends, Hindu, Muslim friends, we discuss things like this. So certain people would see, you know, got a bad kind of attitude, and even before they've said anything or anything, we could kind of feel that this person's emanating bad energy. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So I kind of know the feeling, is why in that sense, like, but with me, I think it's just that sixth sense of I've always been good at looking out for trouble and stuff. So if something's going to happen, remember I was giving you these few stories and that, and the sniffing out trouble and danger. Like, do you know what I mean? That's why I'm always indoors. It's dangerous outside, man. Do you know what I mean? That's when my car's lumbered on the driveway. You know.
Lisa's put a really good point.
Yeah, I was like, look, man, even if I've got somewhere to go, I'll probably drive somewhere and get shot, man. Nowadays, do you know what I mean, or something. You know, oh, he's got a black Lexus. Look at him. He thinks he's so cool. Let's do him over. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, hold on, there's a bloody brand new Rolls Royce over there. Why don't you go start on it? Do you know what I mean?
I think Lisa's point is a great one, where she's put that people are obviously not understanding the British or the English, and that should be something that is paramount. That should be at the forefront of education, that everybody knows what it means to be English and what it means to be British, what the distinction is between the two, and more importantly, what your obligations are to that country which I think could
100%.
be enforced through a program of, I wouldn't necessarily call it conscription, but national service between the age of 18 and 21 perhaps, where I think you should have to do 2 years. 1 year of it should be military style. The second year of it should be community based, where you can, for example, just go around your area, making sure it's tidy, making sure that you patrol the streets so that people feel safe, because then people will actually feel part of where they live and they'll respect the country more.
Jake, look, before I would never agree with what you're saying, about the 21-year-olds and sending them to army and stuff. But not everyone's like us, where they can be self-sufficient from 16, willing to work in a supermarket, willing to do the crap jobs, willing to just help out here. And not many people, because we sometimes, you know, when you project, you're saying how you think. You know, you were saying earlier, like how your own mind thinks. And sometimes you think of stuff that I wouldn't do that. Of course, we're fucking good people. We want to help out. We want to be useful, right? But a lot of people don't think like that. And a lot of these younger people I've known around me, whether they're English, Asian, black, or whatever, they're really fucking lazy, Jake. They're really lazy, yeah. And they kind of get fed up of it. Like, I sound like an old man to them. I go, look, man, like when I was your age, I was fitting car stereos when I was 14, 15 years old. Do you know what I mean? And I was really good at it.
So what do you think that would do, though? Do you think it would
work? And I see the look in their eyes, Jake. They're flipping fearful. They're scared as hell, these young guys, yeah? When I say to them, look, man, and, you know, I just showed you guys, look, there's my Iceland discount card, my uncle's shop, whatever, just giving you a display of having that experience of working families, businesses, and working for English people or working for other people and all of that. I've got it all, yeah? But I see the fear in their eyes. When I said, look, mate, why don't you just go work for Tesco and do some shelf stacking? Oh, why aren't you doing it then? If I take a look, man, I'm flipping twice your age. I've actually done the shit jobs. You know, there you go. Here's the cards. Here's all my flipping old cards, yeah? Because I've done the bullshit stuff. You lot aren't willing to do it. And then you lot aren't even educated enough to moan like I am, that I'm educated, I've got this and that, I've got British education, I think I deserve a bit better now, right? After doing all this hard crafty stuff and that, right? Because that's where I'm at, that's my stage. Because you guys, you're not working towards your driving licenses, you're not working towards training, you're not doing education, you're not doing any services, you're not in the army. Like, what are you lot doing? Like, you're just sitting at home doing nothing at your age, because you're not even old men where you've had enough of life, you've had a couple of divorces, where I could, you know, have a little bit of sympathy for you guys. Do you know what I mean? Yeah? Like, it's not even like that for you guys, because you lot haven't even lived, and I can see the feeling that you're shaking. I say, go work for Tesco's, you know, for £6 an hour, whatever they do, stacking shelves. Ain't doing that. But that's all you're worth. That's all you're worth. You know, it was like, why aren't you doing it, bro? Because I've got a degree. I worked for Lexus as a manager. My dad used to work for Vauxhall building cars. My dad and my uncle used to flip and have video busters, yeah? Right? I can give my whole story, right? And I'm like, look, I wound up where I am, and I still tried, even when I was younger than that, right? And because you lot don't have any of your own personal hobby skills, anything you're good with your hand, whether it's knitting, whether it's flipping, fitting stereos, whatever it is. If they're good at anything with their hands, it'd be just computer games. The biggest brain rot of all. Do you know what I mean? And I used to be a games expert, like as you guys know, yeah? I just gave, because I saw the direction it was going in. I thought, no way. Do we live in a country where we can have the leisure to sit around playing games all day the way this country's going? Do you know what I mean? Them days are gone. Do you know what I mean? Long gone.
Yeah, but if they don't have any choice, we could perhaps, that could prevent that sort of attitude from forming. If they know that between the age of 18 and, I don't know, 24, they've got to do 2 years of national service, then that might change the path that they're on. They might find, for example, a trade that they didn't know that they were interested in, and then they are. It might help with policing, by just having people on the streets will make people feel safer.
Jake, they're proper lazy twats, bro. They really need to kick up that. And I'm not even the kind of person to be like that. I'm not like a hard-ass person like that. Do you know what I mean? I can be a little bit, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if they got put into an environment where they had a proper old-fashioned sergeant major really giving them some stick, they haven't got any fucking choice.
That's it. They need. I'd hate to say that, but you know, Jake, man, I hate to just, you know, but when I see them and I see that there's nothing going on between their ears either, like, do you know what I mean? I'm thinking, okay, they might not be good at something that I know. Maybe they're good at something that I don't know. Nothing. You know, I'm gonna be dig for. Is there anything you don't like? Is there anything you're good at? Is there anything accidentally you're good at? Like, I really, because I know, because people used to pry me. oh, Bobs, why do you expect this? Why do you expect that? And that's why I have all these stories ready before I'd get a bit kind of embarrassed and stumble, where like, oh, I haven't got anything. Oh, what do I say to this kind of thing? Yeah. But I'm trying to say to these young guys that, look, get good at something. Is there anything you want to be good at? Is there anything you know what I mean? You're interested in, you know, whatever it is, like, oh, music, play an instrument, do something. Do you know what I mean? Nothing.
When the right time to do that is during the formative years, because if you go back to your own life, some of the things that are the most powerful are things that happen roughly sort of between the ages of sort of 10 to 18. Those years really making a massive impression on who you are as an adult. And if people aren't getting the right direction at that age, they're not being encouraged to look at things that they might be interested in, then what do we expect them to come out? You know, like I said before, if you want to have a certain future, then you've got to project that from the present. And if our present is just encouraging people to live a life of mediocrity and just sign on the dole and not do anything, then that's the problem.
You know, people would even say to me that, oh, we're not like you, Bob. We're not all posh Asian guys. I go, bro, I'm not posh at all, man. I go, flipping poor as heck. And I goes, you lot keep forgetting, like, some of my Indian mates are rich, but I'm the poor one out of them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, but you always got a fresh haircut every week. And I goes, oh, right. You do know I cut my own hair. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And I goes, yeah, I've been cutting my hair since I was like 23. Do you know what I mean? I've never been to the barber since. Do you know what I mean? And I goes, look, I've been thinking, no, we don't believe you cut your own hair and stuff like this. And I was like, yeah, I had to, because every time, you know, I'm Asian, that hair just keeps growing, right? It's never ending, right? So I'm like, look, every time something comes up, like an interview or something, and I'm always struggling to get ready or struggling to find that bit of money to, you know, get your hair cut or whatever. And you all of a sudden might need a shirt because your old one's got ripped or something. You know what? Do you know what I mean? All of a sudden, anything could happen, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't like all this. So I'm going to have to mitigate these circumstances, right? Learn to work on my own cars, learn to cut my own hair. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like this. These guys aren't like that. They don't use these. Do you know what I mean? At any point. Yeah, and even when I teach people stuff, you know, that, oh yeah, let me show you how to wash a car. Why am I going to do that? Why do I want to know how to wash a car? Because, yeah, when you get a car when you're older and you've got a bit of money and you get a car, you'll know how to do it properly. But oh, it's good that I learned off that guy. He really knew what he was doing. Do you know what I mean? I guess, oh, you could just scratch your car for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? Whatever. I guess simple things even just to get them moving. They're not interested.
Yeah, I think our communities have really been destroyed. I mean, Lisa made a good point about how people to go straight into work at things like factories, especially shipyards, and I saw the evidence of that when I lived in Chatham, or even we've got just up the road at Lowestoft, there's a huge boat industry there, so I understand what that is like. But it's also at a smaller level, like 20 years ago when I lived in Rochester, when I'd walk home from school, I could go into the butcher's, then I could go into the greengrocer's, I'd go into the chemist. And of course, as I lived there for a long time, I got to know all the people in all those different shops, and you get to speak to them and you feel a sense of community around it. I mean, I'd even have things like sometimes you'd get kids that I taught would end up working in the shops, and you just go in and you just have a chat. It's just how it is. That's what a community is. But that's been taken away from us because there are people who are not wanting to fit in with that community, and people who are actively acting against that community and trying to make it worse. And that is not going to bring anyone together, which is what we really need to do. And it's really difficult to get Islam to fit in with that because they have such different values. I don't know how that can be reconciled.
It will never be reconciled. They will never integrate with the Western society. The only way that they ever will, and I'm talking about their hierarchy, is to actually take it over. And that's what they're promised. This is one of the things that people keep avoiding when we have these discussions. I've never personalised it. But Islam has said they're taking over. They want it all. I've actually had people say it to my face, both online and in person.
Yeah.
They're taking over. Some people are taking it from us. And we've got to stand back and just listen to it.
No, of course not. No, it's just like, I know some people have just been really rotten and bullish and flipping taking the piss like that. And, there was a thing before where you said the radicals want to take over and the moderates don't mind kind of thing. There is some truth to that, but with me, it's just more of like, oh, it would be nice if everyone was Muslim. The same way a Christian might think it'd be nice if everyone was a Christian or whatever. Do you see what I mean? It's more of like a pipe dream type thing with me. but some people might think of it in a more of a radical direction.
Bobby, this is where I would have to push back.
I don't know what these mad people are like. Do you see what I mean? I can't tell you, it's not like that in Islam, but it's not like that in Islam. Fair enough to me.
There's an extra bit to
but
this. There's an extra bit that I think is really, really important, which is, like you said just then, yeah, in an ideal world, it would be nice for you if everyone was Muslim. Our argument is it would be nice if everyone was English, because that is what we've always known, and that is what we want back.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. You know, I suppose everyone wants peace, I suppose, but except for some flipping people who've got crazy ideas, bro. Do you know what I mean?
It's not the case that the British are all the same either. Don't fall into that trap of thinking the British people all think in the same way. The Scottish culture is different from the English culture, which is different from the Welsh culture and the Northern Irish culture. They're all very different based on where they are. And although we all get along, even amongst the home counties, we have things that we will disagree about and have done for centuries. And we don't need countries from halfway across the world coming in and making things even worse.
Yeah, no, of course not, man. You can't have people ruining, or they've already bloody ruined it, innit? Trying to bloody fix it now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There is no fixing it though. This is one of the things that we have to face up to, and something that I realised a long time ago. There is no fixing this. This isn't a problem like something that you can take out and replace parts of it, like your car, you know what I mean? You've got a wishbone bent, so you take a wishbone out, you put a new one. This is unfixable. All the king's horses and all the king's men are not putting this back together again. There's going to have to come a cataclysm before things will change. And I see it, honestly, it's going to be a gradual progression into decay and a civil war at some point. And that is where it's going to go.
I think that is a really good point. I think that what we'll find is that the cities will become foreign enclaves and they'll eventually want independence. And that's when you'll see it start turning into a civil war. And it's got something drastic has to be done for us to fix this. I do think that we can save the country. I do think we have time. But you're not going to do it unless the people who are in charge have got the political will to do it. And the ones we've got right now don't have that political will. In fact, they actively act against us.
Yeah, no, I'd honestly would have separated cities up in 15-minute city. All of that would be bloody rotten, bro. We went down that route. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's not that I can get within a mile anyway where I am. I don't even have access to my car. I get on the bus once in a while when I really have to. I hate the train. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I can really see a time where Birmingham, for example, could become somewhere that is as much of a flashpoint as Gaza is at the moment. It really isn't going to take that much for it to happen. Phil will probably disagree with me on that one, though.
Yeah, no,
sadly, I think the future is going to be heading towards more violence and more trouble, especially as the numbers keep increasing. But this isn't just of an opinion where, I think. It's come from observations of what's happening globally, where certain groups hit a certain percentage, usually around 12 to 30%, and then they start pushing to take over. Now, if you look at every council and every political establishment, they're heavily weighted. They're heavily weighted with Muslim councillors. Scotland itself, we've got had a Muslim running the shop. You know, my councillor is a Muslim. In fact, my dentist is related to Hamza Yusuf. We've got all of the plum jobs and all of the council offices now filling up with Muslims. And this has been part of the course in every society that Muslims move into and take over. And then they hit a certain percentage and they push everybody else out and they take over with strong arm tactics. And it's been the case everywhere. I'd like to think that we can make positive changes before it comes to a pogrom.
See, these councillor government type jobs, the civil service jobs, they do tend to give them a lot more to ethnic minorities and stuff like that. Maybe because they want to show that we do employ minorities and stuff in this country, and A lot of the private companies probably don't do it. Do you see what I mean? A lot of the rich companies know a lot of the poor people are of like a majority of the poor people are of a poorer background, let's say, right?
Well, a lot of the councillors are financed to get to these positions.
So they know a lot of us are working class anyway, so they're not going to let us in their company regardless of what colour we are. Do you see what I mean?
But a lot of the council jobs and such, like, people are pushed forward from, and the people that are getting them are actually being supported by Muslim groups and their own Muslim community.
I'll give you an example, Sins. Yeah, you know the Home Office is a Home Office near here in Croydon, yeah. And when my girlfriend finished university, before I got my job at Lexus as my showroom manager, basically we'll both go to the library every couple of times a week near her house to fill out application forms for work and that. Because I had already finished uni, I was a couple of years older than her. So I'd already finished uni, she was in her third year. So, and then after that, when she finished, we ended up going to the library even more. So we used to go to the library together, you know, do stuff. And then one time she goes, oh, I want to apply to the Home Office. So I goes, all right, then it's a big dirty application form, yeah. And she didn't know how to write, like, do you know what I mean? Because I'm used to working life and uni and balancing things and filling out forms and all this stuff. Yeah, so she's a bit spoiled and she's never really had to write forms and that properly in her life. So she goes, yeah, all right, Bob, let's do this and that. I goes, all right, and so we both filled out application forms together, right? I practically did both of them for us, for both of us, yeah, right? We're both Muslim. She's 2 years younger than me, right? And she's a girl, I'm a boy. We both send out our applications, look exactly identical, pretty much, yeah. Both send our applications in, yeah. She gets a reply, she gets the job and everything straight away. I didn't get anything. Do you know what I mean? So this is where foul play exists, because it's like my application, if her application was good enough, then my application should have been good enough. And then she's like, oh, I got in, you didn't. Like, it's that's because you're a girl and because you're good looking. Because you're good looking and because you're a girl. Why did you say that? But you're an alright looking guy. Yeah, but you know, a good looking guy gets the same treatment as a good looking girl. Like, it's the way a guy gets good treatment. We've got a load of money. We've got a load of money. We're cool and we're famous. We're a boxer and that. Everyone loves you. Do you know what I mean? We're a musician or something. Everyone loves you. That's how blokes get appreciated.
That's human nature, right?
Well, I don't know about that. There are other reasons. I mean, money does get.
Yeah, but I'm general out there. I'm doing the Tate area. A bit of a Tate flex here. I'm from Luton, after all. Come on.
You are from.
That is an aspect of human nature, though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. It's part of that. I didn't. But then I got my job 3 months later at Lexus. She's like, you got a job in a proper nice place. And I guess, hold on, you got a job in a Home Office and that. And your job's going to be way more stable than mine and all this. She said, I mean, and you get paid 10 grand more than I do. I got paid peanuts.
And a better pension.
You know? You're 2 years younger than me, getting paid 10 grand more. I'm flipping a manager for a Lexus showroom getting 20 grand and you're on flipping 29. Do you know what I mean? Crazy. You know, even in London, sometimes they say the wages and that are higher. Yeah, it's not always true. You know what I mean?
The cost of living is certainly higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think a multi-million pound
unless
pay a lot more than
that's because of inflation, though, isn't it? It's because the pound isn't worth as much as it should be, so all the prices go up for everything. It's bad. I mean,
inflation's something, Jake. Inflation's something that really gets mad tits, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah,
people talk about inflation as if it's some random thing that just happens for no good reason. Inflation happens because they keep printing more money.
Yeah.
It's the only reason that inflation happens.
Yeah.
The quantitative easing. This is taught in Islam. This quantitative easing thing. This is a big part of the economical model and all that. It teaches about this quantitative easing, interest, usury, all of this kind of stuff. So that's a mad part of it, which kind of intrigues me in the religion. You know, we were talking about money management, understanding money. I was surprised that in Islam it had stuff written about this. You know, because you just think it's a faith thing. You know, about past characters and leaders or prophets or whatever, right? And a guidance system, you know, a general guidance system for people. So that's pretty much it from me as well, man. But yeah, I'm a bit tired today. 3 hours, guys, nearly. Well, you guys been on for 3 hours.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, no,
didn't realise
this film is about the Manchester Airport. Yeah, go
on. I was going to ask you actually. Someone asked you a question by saying, "Would you accept Sharia law in the UK?"
No, not with the way we rerun. I'd like our laws, what they are, to work. Do you know what I mean? What we got, what we thought we had, fair, free, fair society, and a law that worked, police service that worked. That's fine, because we, from my point of view, we had in modern life, in modern civilization, one of the best, fairest systems. Do you know what I mean? England is about fairness in that sense, mainly. So no, I mean, I understand. Let's say, for example, we had a dispute on a local level. I had a dispute with a Muslim guy, and God knows, let's say I owed him money or something, or he owed me money, or something's happened, and we could come up with some kind of reasoning between us that we're both happy with. That's what Sharia law on a lower level can be okay. I'm not saying implemented, but this is equal as if like us three come to an understanding of something. Do you know what I mean? Do you get it? Like in that sense of, you know, but I wouldn't even call that Sharia law. I'd call that kind of common sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, just having being good enough and mature enough to kind of just resolve matters amongst yourselves without having us to go to the bloody authorities and get everyone in fucking crap. Do you know what I mean? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think chopping someone's hand off in this day and age for stealing is just a little bit too far, isn't it? I mean, we got limits, haven't we?
Yeah, sure.
So,
sure, it is, man.
There's another question. I don't know what's going on. I think Slim and I are invisible. It's another question for you, Bobby, saying that if we could prove to you that Islam is false, would you become an apostate, or would you be afraid of the apostasy laws? But also, I'd add to that, you know, because like that could really screw up your family life, couldn't it? Do you know what I mean? Your mum, your dad, like you know, you've got a lot possibly around Islam that you could lose, which includes your close family. And you know, no matter what, even if you thought in your head, oh, it's false, you wouldn't want to do anything to lose your parents, surely. So there's probably more to it than that.
What it is, Wiz, I've lost everything that I thought I cared about and I loved, and the only thing I've got is my faith now. You see what I mean?
Yep.
I thought,
yep,
yeah, like whether it's things I enjoyed doing, you know, things I was getting educated about, places I thought I liked working at, the girlfriends I had, you know, people I could depend on. I don't have any of it, so all I have is my faith. That's why. Do you see what I mean? So if I got that, I got nothing.
Yep.
That's
would you not, like, if it was sort of said to you in a way, like maybe you could say turn to Christianity, and that was, you know, you could have like, you know, new friends.
Sure.
I don't know, just a new way. I mean, would you look at that, or is it still a case of like, you know, regardless, you'd still follow Islam because, you know, you want to keep your parents and you love, you know, that's your family now, or what?
Yeah, I mean, look, I tried to be a Muslim and a good Muslim. A lot of the reasons, there's many reasons for it, right? But one of them was to kind of display to my family and my parents that I'm a good person, I'm trying to be on a good path and be sensible and stuff like that. But the funny thing is in my family, no one actually gave a flipping monkeys whether you're religious or not.
Oh, right.
Do you get it? Like other families, yeah, this is what I found. This is why I'm a bit. Hold on, Mum, I went to mosque and that every weekend to prove to you that I wasn't a trouble causer and I'm going to be a good boy my whole life. And I thought if I did these things and this and that, you'd learn to trust me a bit more, not think of me as the youngest son and, you know, I'm going to do something crazy or whatever. And I've never been like that, Mum. I've never given you issues or anything. Like, you know, since my parents split it, because you don't have to worry about those things. But yeah, you know, yeah, again, look, I kind of chose it for discipline, direction, all of that. And obviously, inner beliefs, all of these things, right? And but yeah, like in my family, they didn't really necessarily care. So I could have actually got away. I could have actually got away being a lazy one. Do you know what I mean? Like, basically, both of my brothers don't care. You know, my older brothers. Yeah, I've got two older brothers. They're like, one of them's your age, basically. Yeah, they don't care about religion. They don't do anything religious. They don't go to mosque, nothing. It's just me. So maybe the viewers will be surprised to hear that. It's just me. I got mosque on my Eid. It was Eid the other day. Lonely walk to the mosque on my own. I see everyone else there with their dads and their children and their mum. I'm always there on my own. Lonely old Bobby, no Muslim mates. That's why I say, look, I'm a Muslim and I know loads of Muslims, but I can't call any of them my brothers or friends and that, because I don't feel that connection with them anymore, in the sense of, not because of the faith, but I just feel like there's an animosity, a selfishness in society generally, but no one really wants to stop to check how you are, if you're all right. Do you want to come for a quick coffee, Bob? No one does that anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll tell you, one thing I have noticed is in even within a family environment, like mum, dad, daughters, brother, sister, there's some, I don't know where it came from, like I'm better than you attitude, and it seems to be destroying families. Like why would you want to say, oh, I'm better than you, when you're family? Like, you're all equals. Oh no, but I know you're my sister, but I'm better than you. I earn more than you. I dress better than you. And there seems to be all this competition that you think, hang on. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I am surprised, genuinely. I thought you were going to say, literally from the age of being able to read, you were given a Quran, you were told, like, read this, blah blah, like an indoctrination maybe from childhood. And I thought you were going to say, yeah, all your brothers, you all meet up, you go to mosques, we all make sure we pray 5 times a day. That's what I was expecting you to say. And because of that, I thought you would say, no, I would never leave Islam because my family, that's a part of it. Do you know what I mean? I honestly thought you were going to say that. So for you to say what you said, I am surprised. But one thing I will say to you, and I'm not going to push you in any which way or whatever, so don't misunderstand, I'm trying to say whatever, because I'm someone who, I genuinely believe in God. I believe Jesus walked this earth, but I find it very hard to get my head around some of the stories. And maybe I was saying to Jake yesterday that man's sort of embellished a few stories, do you know what I mean, and made them a bit juicier and a bit more impressive, shall we say, and that's why we got the Bible. So I'm not coming like from whatever angle, but what I'd say to you, like, if you know it's whatever religion, whatever, if you could look into Jesus and Christianity. I'm not saying that you've got to read the Bible. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that. But you're obviously coming across as very, like, open-minded, and I think your feet are planted nicely on this planet. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you're coming from a bad place, being like a believer in Islam or anything like that. I mean, I'd easily go out for a pint with you and have a giggle. I mean, you come across as someone who would be a good friend in my eyes. But because of that, I think I'd be doing a misservice in life if I didn't say to you, maybe look at Christianity. Whether you take that serious or not, that's up to you. But just maybe sort of read a bit, if you can, about Jesus, or just Google Christianity and whatever. But yeah, but do it in your own time. And then, you know, you might do it once here, and you might do it a little bit next week, and then you might do a little bit the week after. You know, you're not going to go silly over it, but just look at it and put it with Islam. But what I want to get at is, see how it fits with you as a man, as the life you've lived, for what you've been through, for where you are now, for how you feel literally stood looking in the mirror. Take all that into consideration and see how you might think if you were sort of looking at Christianity, or how you might if you were looking at Islam. And, you know, just in your own time, be open-minded and just look at something else maybe. That's, I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to get at, because I want you to, because you're a good man. I reckon you deserve the right to be happy. You deserve the right, no matter what you've been through, it's made you who you are. So if you've got the right to sort of look in the mirror, smile, and be proud at who's looking back at you, maybe give yourself the justice of getting to look at other stuff. That's what I'm getting at, but not forcing you. Just, you know, it maybe, because that's what I've done in life. It might work.
Sure. I'd like to add that it makes me a little proud that Bobby feels that this is a group of people that he can actually talk to. Because I know he obviously comes on here to chat away, and it's not always about Islam. He'd just like to talk about other things, and that's understandable. Yeah. But it's something we ourselves should be proud of, that we're willing to discuss these things openly, without anger and without hatred. And it's nice. I think that's nice all around. What I would like to ask was, last week I asked about the guy. Remember the guy talking about the great and the good?
Yep.
What happened to him? Is he coming back on to actually discuss his ideas, or did they just run away and stay away?
I don't know. He was Michael, wasn't it? Michael. I don't know. I was expecting an email because he said about Jake and Ace and myself going through his 20-point plan, and I've never heard from him since. So I know he sort of lives on his own with his kids, and he's got to do a lot, and he's got like a mini little farm going on, but I've not heard from him, and he's not even popped up in the chat or anything for me to say anything.
No,
So no, so I was thinking about that the other day. I might even whack him an email to see. So
I'd like to be a part of that discussion, and no, I wouldn't push too hard against him.
No. He said, yeah, he's open to that. So yeah, maybe, yeah, I'll have to chase him up. Maybe. Hopefully he's all right. But yeah, Michael, his name was. But yeah, in Ireland, didn't he? But yeah, he was a good bloke. He was. So yeah, I'll see. And thanks.
The reason being, sorry, I'd still like to know who these great and the good are in his perception.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get at, and then understand his point plans to get round that and what that means. Because obviously, just reading it could, you could interpret something in a way that I wouldn't. So,
well, as it stands, it's just that somebody else will do it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But we'll see. Can I just quickly say thanks, ASU Mahmood, for your support and your donation on Ko-fi. Thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate it. I need to download your book. He's got a book on Amazon. If he's there, hopefully he could put the link in the chat. But I'll do it next time. Otherwise, it's a free book, free to download, so it's worth reading. But anyway, so where were we? Bobby, yes, you're going to reply to my long old spiel. Trying to convert you, but not really. I don't know. I think you got the right. It's got to be your right on this planet as a man to have a life lived and have the option, or even someone to just say something that you think, do you know what? Let me have a look at that, or let me have a look at that. In your own time. Free and all that. But yeah,
Yeah, I was listening.
Yeah, Bobby's like, piss off. It's Islam, mate. It's Islam all the way, mate.
No. I just said someone interrupting, coming in the room. That's like to go quiet for a bit. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's it. Just people running around the house, in it, man, making noise and that. Yeah. So yeah, no. Look, man, no, I do appreciate it, but you see, with this religion stuff, I've always had like an interest in it anyway. In the weirdness of I've been brought up in a Christian country, so I do get the idea of the Christian religion, and I do appreciate many aspects of it. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, it's I don't really have that animosity against Christians or Jews in that sense, because our faith comes from those faiths anyway. In that sense, you see. So I don't really hold any ill feeling, and I can listen to Bible stories all day. I'm not saying I'm just some hippie guy that don't know what direction I'm in. Yeah, I'm a Muslim, but I do enjoy lessons from other religions and learning about religions. Like I said, I've told you before, it's an unfashionable hobby, isn't it, really, to learn about religion that you don't get paid for, especially in this country. It's a complete opposite thing to do. Don't get into religion in this country, kids. Yeah, get into money, get into banking. Yeah, this is where all our money goes. Religion makes you no money. It makes you look like a mental person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing though, even Muslims that I've seen, when it comes to near-death experiences, they always say that they saw Jesus. They never say Muhammad. There's even videos on YouTube of Muslims who then converted because they saw Jesus. I mean, there's got to be something there. That's why, as I feel like, as a friend of yours or someone I know, that's why I think it's my duty just to say, if you ever sort of sat there, you think, oh, what am I doing twiddling my thumbs? Maybe Google something to do with Christianity just to look into it. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
Would you believe if I told you I met Jesus in a dream?
The fact you're a Muslim, no.
Maybe we leave that for another show. But yeah, no, I don't really like talking about 3-4 years ago. I had an experience. Do you know what I
Me
mean?
too,
But
mate.
it wasn't
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Don't go into it. What we do next Sunday then, when we do our talk, I'll put up whatever question it might be, but I'll do it around because obviously I need to have some thinking as well. Because obviously when I was dead for over 3 minutes, I had an experience as well. I think you and I we can talk about that next week then, if you're up for it.
Yeah.
And we're
I'm not.
and you know,
I'm trying to make myself
Slim
now, guys. I know it's like 4 o'clock or something, 4:30. But
it is
I'm
as
gonna
well.
whack
I'm
to get
sure
my
Slim and
sandwich,
Jake
lunch
can
and
come
dinner.
up and ask us questions, mate. So, you know.
Sure. All right, guys.
We'll do that. We'll do that, mate. Excellent. So, yeah, I appreciate you coming up again, mate. For some strange reason, it sort of twisted a bit there on Islam and that. So, I went quiet after I said my bit because I'm not here, like I've always said to you, I'm not here to start on you or catch you out. So, I said my bit, and that's why I shut up. So, and let everybody else and let the conversation just evolve because I'm not having it just constantly attacking you and go, oh, Bobby this, Bobby that. Oh, like, mate, you're not Islam, are you? You're Bobby. Do you know what I mean? So, people need to respect that. So, you know, I said my bit and, you know, you said whatever and we moved on. I'm not going to harp on about it. Going on and on and on. So, yeah, but I appreciate you actually trying to answer and coming, you know, from your perspective. I appreciate that.
Yeah, now, obviously this your subject today, this Manchester airport attack, you know, I did want to mention about that. It was bloody crazy. I don't know what the hell's going on there. This Henry Nowak guy, rest in peace. Sad this happened. Do you know what I mean? Look, waving knives about from another fifth. I'm not going to do this and that. What about read them and this and that? But all this stuff is dangerous because even when I was young, I don't know if I told you on your channel that I used to get threatened by Sikh people with knives and that when I was in college. When I was an art student, I think I did tell you, innit? When I was an art student and that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
They threatened me with their knives and that. And I wasn't even that kind of person. I was just wanting to be an arty, fighty student with my paint on my trousers and, you know, just looking a little bit shabby and that. I didn't care. I'm one of these guys, I'm from Luton, like, we didn't really care how we dressed or anything like that. Do you see what I mean? We weren't really bothered. This whole dressing up, getting your hair cut every week, and that's a London thing. Do you know what I mean? But then in college, I used to kind of just dress up, kind of really like daggy and that. But I didn't care because I thought I was just going to do my artwork and that, and that's all I cared about. But then I started getting judged by all the Asian and black guys. I look at that guy. Why are you so scruffy for a rude boy? Why you got this? And I go, oh yeah, I don't watch clothes. I enjoy my painting and that. Do you know what I mean? And you know, then like, oh, let's start on him. And then there was a Sikh guy. A couple of 3 Sikh guys, starting with 3 different occasions. You know, one of them comes and he's got all holes in his jeans and this and that, and then, you know, t-shirt and stuff, and he's got his little Quran thing there, and he threatens me with it and stuff, and I'm like, hold on a minute. I goes, you lot told me to keep my anger in check and stuff. You know, my Muslim friends and that told me to keep quiet, keep my anger in check because I don't dress like you. I don't have the money. I don't have a part-time job to buy nice clothes and get my hair cut every week and that. Yeah, you lot are judging me. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm from Luton. Do you know what I mean? Because we don't take shit like this. Do you know what I mean? Now they're discovering Tommy, Tate. You know what I mean? Well, us Luton guys, we don't take rubbish, bro. We're really nice people, but we do say what we want to. Like, and I'm literally like, that's why I kind of like half stick up for Tommy and Tate even more so because I know where they're coming from, and I'm like, hold on, I'm the older version of these guys, and I thought it's just me that kind of thought a bit like them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and I'm like, they're from the same area as me, so is Lubna. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, and we all kind of do have similar thoughts and that. Like, I thought this is a bit crazy. So yeah, you know, stuff like that as well, man. Do you know what I mean? Like people are saying, oh, you dress a funny way, this and then I start, you know, this guy started me with a knife, and I go, look, how come you don't think he's a gangster and he's a tough guy? He's got holes in his trousers like me. Do you know what I mean? He's got fucking long hair with his thing on. Yeah, because I've got long hair. I can't afford a bloody haircut for a month. Do you know what I mean? Because look, anyway, so that's my point. So I always knew that thing. But you know, when I used to bring that up before when I was young, they'd be like, oh, you've got something against Sikhs. And I go, no, nothing against no one. I don't even know nothing about Sikhs. I knew more about Hindus and Christians and that at that stage. Because Sikhs, very kind of obscure minority, in a sense, a very small people, yeah, you know, in terms of how many of them there are. So there's not much you know about them. in general. And in our religion, obviously, Muslims, if we read into it, even being brought up in a Christian country, there's that Christian backdrop. Christianity is mentioned in our religion, so there's a familiarity for someone like me. But with Sikhism, I was like, huh? Like, it's like an extra religion. What the Hinduism, got Islam, we got, no, it's an extra religion. It's like, and I couldn't work it out. I was like, what is it? It's like an in-between religion? Is this like a mix of something, like a mix between Hindu and Islam? Like, I couldn't quite work it out. And that was the newest religion as well. So, invented hundreds of years after, let's say Prophet Muhammad or whatever. Anyway, I don't go too much into another person's faith. I don't even know too much about the Sikh faith. I know bits and bobs. But by that time, I was kind of familiar with let's say, Indian culture and Hindu religion that goes with Indian culture. Me being Pakistani Indian, and a little bit Kenyan, and then how my cultures and Islam and this and that, whatever, it all comes together with me, and how I represent all of that, I suppose, here. But yeah, look, that's pretty much it from me, I suppose, for today, guys, as well. We've been on for ages, isn't it? So yeah, I'll probably make my exit now and let you wrap up with.
No worries.
Yeah?
And then next Sunday we're talking about our other stuff. So yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be something to look forward to. Happy days. I'll make sure I'll get a thumbnail up for that. So what did you say yours was a dream?
Yeah.
Just so I'm going to put something on the thumbnail, just so I don't want it to say like, you died or whatever. You're like, no, mate, I haven't died. Shut up. I dreamed. So, yeah, that's cool, mate. Brilliant. Happy days. Yeah, I look forward to that then next Sunday. So I appreciate your time, mate. Thank you very much indeed.
No problem. Thanks, guys. Slim, easy, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bobby, you take care. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Happy days. But Robert Johnson, thank you for the super chat. Interesting. Keep up the good work, Wizard. I will. It's always interesting when Slim and Jake come up, because obviously they're a little bit more intelligent than I. That's why I shut up and I let them have the conversation. I come in and pretend to push out a Quran out my bum for some reason. That's how immature I am. But it's been brilliant. It's a good old chat. So yeah, I hope next week's cool, and we'll do it regards sort of the NDEs. I suppose we'll end up talking about religion, etc., won't we? So if you're around for that, Slim, you've got to call in again, geez.
Well, she'll finish by saying, "I'll be back."
Nicely done. I'll be back. He only thinks he's Arnold Squash. Something. Careful what I say there. Schwarzenegger. Squash. Okay, nice one, Wiz. Don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, happy days. There we go. 3 hours 30 minutes. Holy moly! Thanks to all of you in the chat who are still watching. Let me catch up with the chat. Just get like to the end bits, because all happy days. Take it easy, Olga. Thank you for watching. Jake, Gaelic, John. Yep, well, we need to catch up with Reese. Reese's Corner, ladies and gents. He's cycling to Scotland for charity for homeless people. I do pop in now and again, but I haven't been commenting or anything. So, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Thank you to every single one of you for watching. I really appreciate it. And a huge thanks to Mad Monkey for the 5 memberships that he gifted. ASU Mahmood on Ko-fi for your donation. Thank you very much, sir. And obviously, like we just saw, Robert for his super chat. I really, really appreciate the support. Thank you very much, guys. Other than that, what's today? Sunday. Oh, yes, I'm back on Wednesday, but I'm uploading videos. The reason, obviously, I'll be doing a Wednesday and a Sunday at 1, Tuesday and Thursdays at 7, and I'll be uploading videos. So, happy days, because that way I can load up maybe 2 or 3 sort of short videos a day, and happy days. You never know. Trying to get me views up, geez. Yeah, I got up this morning. I made 47p yesterday. No, Friday. It would have been the day before that. Yeah, 47p. So don't need to all be jealous and you all want some of my money. But yeah, but have a good evening, ladies and gents. Take it easy. Live the dream. I will be uploading videos, and I will see you live Wednesday 1 o'clock. So yeah, Wednesday, Wizard Wednesday. What more can I say? So take it easy, everyone. Respect you all. But for now, like I say at the end of every single video, that is the Wizard's words.